This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Sunset Safari, where the SafariLive team has beaten away the gremlins and we are able to take you on your 3-hour safari live once again. A very good afternoon to you all. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Archie is on camera with me, and we are live from the Masai Mara in Kenya with a lioness and the rest of her pride that I'm sure you've all been dying to know about. But we'll get onto that a little bit later. First of all, remember this is a live safari from both South Africa and Kenya, which means that you can send through your questions on hashtag SafariLive on Twitter or in the comments section on the YouTube channel. Very, very exciting stuff. I don't know why we always do this intro at the beginning, because the chances of a new viewer picking it up right at the start of our show is relatively unlikely, and the rest of you know the drill. So if you are a new viewer, let me know. Perhaps I'm entirely mistaken, and what I've just told you was incredibly enlightening. Now, back to the lionesses. We have 3 of the 5 members of the Sausage Tree Pride, including our beloved Kinky Tail, one of the oldest members of the Pride. Now, last time Brent caught up with Kinky Tail, she had a nasty wound on her left side. At the moment, it's difficult to see exactly how its healing progress is progressing. How was that? Not very good. But I think it's looking a great deal better, so there you go. It's looking a little mucky. That's because she's probably been lying in the mud, and there are some flies around it, but chances are it is a wound that is going to heal all by itself relatively quickly. When Brent saw her, he said she wasn't even really limping all that much, so chances are that wound hasn't gone down to the layers of muscle. So, why are we here? Well, I was actually coming to search for a cheetah, and just happened to bump into the Sausage Tree Pride by mistake. However, I have decided to stay. The reason being, there's a migration right there. There we go. It is, of course, high season in the Masai Mara, which is also known as migration season, which would probably be better if I'd led with that. So that means that over 1 million wildebeest come trundling in from the Serengeti, along with some zebras, along for the ride. You know, a couple of 100,000 zebra, so quite a few zebra, and various other animal species. What that means for the predators of the Masai Mara is that hunting is, I guess you could describe it as easy pickings, essentially. Now, I'm happy to hear, or happy to see, not to hear, that the migratory herds have made their way back down to this corner of the Mara Triangle, because it means that the Sausage Tree Pride will remain well fed. They really do keep us guessing, though, because I don't know where the other 2 are. We hardly ever see that entire pride together. I don't know. I think it's most likely... Oh, I think some wildebeest are making other wildebeest at the back there. No, I'm mistaken. It is just one wildebeest moving oddly. Now, while we sit and wait for the Sausage Tree members to stir, and perhaps even hunt, although more importantly show us how Kinky Tail's wound is looking, let's go back to our colleagues in South Africa so that Sydney can bid you a good afternoon.
I have got one of the very lovely antelopes. You can see the impala there, all now taking food from the stomach back to the mouth. Is a process which is called rumination. These impalas are now very relaxed under the shade because it's quite very hot at the moment here in South Africa today. A very, very good afternoon and welcome to the beginning of the afternoon safari. My name is Sydney. I am traveling with Dave, who is my camera operator. We are going to be with you this afternoon from the western side of the Kruger National Park, the Juma Game Reserve. For your questions and comments, you can follow us on YouTube chat stream. You can also follow us on Twitter, hashtag SafariLive. So you can see the impalas. This is not even a breeding head. I can't see the dominant male here. Mostly the dominant males, they walk together with their females in harems. Look at what that impala is doing now. It's grooming. So the tongue of the impala is not the same as the tongue for the lion, which has got some kind of spines which helps them during grooming. Impalas, how they groom, they use their teeth. They have got big space within their tooth, which gives them access to comb each other in order to get rid of the parasites. I think it's a good thing that the tongue doesn't have spines, because otherwise they were also going to vomit the hair balls, because the tongues with the spines, it collects quite a lot of dead hairs from the body, and they swallow those hairs, and afterwards you will see the animals coughing hairs, or sometimes they must have to regurgitate or vomit the hair balls. Look at the impalas now. The side of the body, you can see different colors there. They get quite a lot of benefits from different colors on their bodies. So this is one of the animals well gifted, because impalas, apart from the eyesight, they can hear very well and they can smell very well. They are very much well equipped, and they even got some of the special glands at the bottom of their hind legs, where you can see those black things there that looks like black socks at the back. So that is what is called a sebaceous gland, is the metatarsal gland. Those socks are there for communication purposes below their predator's hearing. Lovely, isn't it? So impalas, when the dry season starts, you will see when the grass is getting dry every time is when the impalas are going to change gears and start to feed on leaves. But now I'm going to pull further so that we can have a better visual. As I can see now, they are starting to move deep into the thick bushes. Catherine, that is very true. Impalas, they are antelopes and they are not deers, but they are some of the small, well-gifted antelopes. You can see they are now all heading up towards that side. They're not very easy to see them anymore. I'm just going to carry on towards the tree, the twins dam, and see what I'm going to find. My plan this afternoon is to look for the cats. Last night I saw Tingana heading towards this direction, and here is where I'm also hoping Tandy and Kalamba is hiding somewhere. Yesterday morning the tracks were just all over this area, showing that Tandy and Kalamba has been here. So now let's go back to the Masai Mara and see what Jamie is having at the moment. I don't know. I just heard earlier Jamie got some beautiful sleeping lions. Maybe she's still there.
Back to the Mara with Jamie, sitting, watching, waiting for the wildebeest to wander in this direction, or possibly for the rain to beat us to it. It's nice to see that they've come back into this area. We've spoken about how, while the migration happens in a sort of a rough circle, I don't know if I'd really call it a circle, essentially while the wildebeest are in the middle of their big movement up into the Masai Mara, and once they reach here, they move backwards and forwards, essentially, depending apparently upon rainfall, although I don't know how they decide whether to follow the rainfall to the south, east, or west. It rains all the time in every direction, in my honest opinion. That's why we disappeared yesterday out of the SafariLives episode, because, well, there was a massive storm breaking above our heads and the lightning hit the camp back at the top of the hill. So we ran home with our tails between our legs. It's interesting that they've chosen to come back in this direction. It's good news for the Sausage Tree Pride, because I believe that one of the lionesses has cubs. I could be wrong. It's a really difficult call to make at this stage. We haven't seen any sign of it. All that we have to go off is working out when last they mated and the fact that one of them was seen with suckle marks. So the presence of this many wildebeest would be really, really positive for that lioness. Although, on the flip side of that, the presence of this wildebeest has mixed up the completely mixed up the lion dynamics. Now, DH, you want to know if zebras will kill lion cubs if they have a chance. I suspect probably yes, although I would imagine that the circumstances that would sort of allow such a situation would be very rare indeed. Now, you've got to imagine a lion cub in a den, because that's where the lionesses leave them. They don't necessarily tuck them away or keep them with them when they're little. They will tuck them away somewhere safe. Now, imagine being what is that? Is that fire? Looks like it. I'm very surprised a fire can burn at this point, but it is a fire indeed, down in Tanzania. Now, imagine being a zebra and finding a little group of cubs, or the hiding place or den site where there's a group of cubs hidden, and all you can smell is lioness around that area. It is unlikely that the zebra is going to take the chance that mom is not there to go and investigate close enough to actually kill the lion cubs. One herbivore that does regularly kill lion cubs if they find them is buffalo. Bigger, scarier, more cantankerous, just generally grouchy, to be honest. I mean, cantankerous pretty much sums it up. So if anything's going to kill lion cubs when we're talking about herbivores, it's most likely going to be buffalo. You might find in terms of omnivores that baboons could also be a potential threat, but it's again very unlikely. Cheetah, hyena, leopard, they're all threats to lion cubs, but again, it depends on whether or not mum is around and how much of a risk those animals are willing to take, because a protective lioness is a scary, scary thing indeed. I definitely would not want to come between a lioness and her cubs. I've had a few moments on foot where one particular stands out in my memory. Lionesses that were relocated into an area, and we were out on a bushwalk with a group of guests, and she started growling at us, and this particular pair of lionesses had a tendency to, they either growled at you when you were 400 meters away, or they growled at you when you were 10 meters away, and you could never quite predict exactly which approach they were going to take. So while we knew they were there, we weren't really trying to walk in on them. It just so happens that we did. And as it turned out, they'd had their first litter of cubs since their translocation. We didn't at the time know that. We were saying to our guests, go backwards, go backwards, go backwards, and they weren't going backwards, and we couldn't understand why they weren't going backwards. And eventually I looked around and I could see why they weren't going backwards, because there were lion cubs behind us. Somehow we'd walked right past them, and they were busy calling to the female, who was very upset that we were between her and her cubs. So as you can imagine, we did a rather crab-like shuffle sideways. Fortunately, she was very tolerant of our presence. She was growling, and she was pretty angry, but she didn't act on full protective mother mode, which I think would have caused massive problems for us. So it does happen. Obviously, as a guide, you try and avoid that sort of scenario at all costs. We just had no idea, absolutely no idea, that was the case. So lionesses are protective creatures, and given that they're the biggest big cat out here, they can be very dangerous. The sausage tree pride haven't had much luck with cubs. Obviously, that cub that we found a few months ago didn't make it. But it would be so nice to have some little sausages again. Now, John Michael, you want to know if any animals will catch diseases from all the flies. It's unlikely that they will catch a disease from the flies. What will happen, particularly where there's a situation with an open wound or perhaps around their nostrils or their ears, is that they will get an infection, or not an infection, but basically the wound is invaded by maggots, which obviously come in and feed off mostly dead tissue and can actually be potentially beneficial. However, at the same time, they'll also keep that wound open and prevent it from healing, which is what we saw with Mfumo, one of the Birmingham boys, long ago, when he had a really nasty abscess on his face, right near his nose, and it was causing him to sneeze and be very uncomfortable. They can also lay eggs in the nostrils of the animals, particularly blowfly larvae will infect the sinus cavities, which is why a lot of the time you see animals as they walk. That's anything like a zebra or a topi, you'll see that movement, and that's most likely due to botfly larvae feeding in their sinus cavities. What can sometimes happen with a bad infection in the sinus is that it can actually cause blindness, because it can eat up right into the eye and cause blindness, which is something that we saw on Juba not so long ago when the drought was really bad, because all of a sudden we had female buffalo charging the vehicles and then looking very disoriented, and that was due to blowfly or botfly larvae causing blindness in their eyes. So there are potential infections. Most of the time the animals are relatively immune to any sort of diseases that the flies might carry. Remember that they'll quite happily tuck into a carcass that the flies have been sitting on in the sun for 3 days. Now they really have far better immune systems than we do, and are more at risk of diseases like rabies, or in the case of jackals or perhaps wild dogs, canine distemper. Those are the diseases that can potentially cause them harm. And anthrax in drier countries, or drier areas, I shouldn't say countries, drier areas. Very flat cats, very, very flat cats, underneath a balanites tree, under the backdrop of the Olololo escarpment. It's a beautiful setting, a really, really beautiful scene. Unfortunately, we might not be able to stay here the entire time, because this is on a main road, or close to a main road, which means that people will be wanting to come and see them on their way home, and there is a restriction of 5 vehicles at any one point in time at a big cat sighting. So we'll sit here for as long as we possibly can, and then we might have to depart. I just want to see Kinky Tail get up. I drove in here convinced it was the sausages, but had absolutely no clue because they were so flat until she flicked her tail, very kindly providing me with the most easily identifiable lion feature we've ever had the pleasure of working with. Her nipples are quite prominent as well, I noticed. Not like she's suckling. Could just be that she always has had prominent nipples at her age. I know that Emma is talking to me, but unfortunately I cannot hear a word she's saying. Okay, I think what I'm going to do, apparently, thanks to Archie for helping me out with that, is send you across to South Africa to go and join some elephants.
Look at the majestic animal, the elephant. I've got a small head here, very much relaxed, all stationary feeding, but a lot of them seems to be eating the grass. Maybe they are tired of pushing down the trees today. They are just moving all the dead trees and eat grass. Lovely. I've also got 2 young elephants. You can see them there. One was also trying to stand like the others. Look at that. Lovely. So they look, it looks like those 2 youngsters are more or less the same age. I can see that their body and everything is more or less the same. So these 2, they are challenging each other. You can see they are all waving the grasses when they pull the grasses, because these grasses are coming out or from the bottom with the roots, and the roots has got quite a lot of soil on them. They're going to have to first shake it in order to get rid of the soil. But these kind of soils are not bad for the digestion of the elephants. It does help them in order to digest food. You can see the big one coming, looks wet a little bit. Here where these elephants are at the moment is not far away from the Twins Dam. So it means these elephants, they are coming from there. So I can see that they are wet. Look at that one trying to pick up some of the information. Not too sure if maybe that one is trying to get the information about our presence, as the wind is on their favor at the moment. So look at the babies now playing there right on the road. Lovely. You can see that these babies, they are more or less the same age. You can see their height. These are cute babies. Imagine these kind of babies are born after a gestation period of about 22 months. That is why elephants, when they've got babies, they can be very much aggressive and they can be potentially dangerous. Caroline, I'm not too sure if the African elephants and the Asian elephant can be able to interbreed. I haven't seen the Asian elephant, I've just seen them on TV. I haven't seen them together with the African elephants. Look, now I've got a visitor coming to greet me. A very good afternoon to the largest land mammal. You can see elephants are peaceful animals. They're just passing very much close, not doing anything. All they need is respect. Elephants can only be dangerous when the bull is on mast, when the babies are still young, when they're still very new, and when they've got injuries. But normally, elephants are peaceful animals. And look at that. You can see those two are also still pushing each other. Rosalind, the elephants have got about 30-something teeth. I'm not too sure again of the amount exactly of the teeth. I think they've got about between 34 to 36 teeth. And how they use their teeth is amazing. They don't use their teeth same like other animals, because other animals, they slide their jaws. But the elephants don't slide their jaws when they're eating. They grind forwards, backwards, backwards. When the elephant is eaten, it's very much easy to distinguish between them and other browsers. Poor cat mama, the elephants can have approximately 1,500 muscles on their trunk. That is a lot. So the trunk is the most important tool, and they are very much powerful. So this trunk can be able to collect 8 liters of water, and they can pull very big objects. So you can see that most of them now are going under the shades. It seems like it's very hot for them. Rima, the 2 elephants we are seeing now, they are just playing. This is not a real fight. Mostly the teenagers, more or less the same size, same age, you will see them doing this. Also the big ones, sometimes they do this. You can see they're still pushing each other. And then another one, also more or less the same age, going to join. Let's see, maybe this one is going to go and intervene. Yeah, it's coming. It's also going right there. Look now. 3 of them now are standing together. So when the youngsters of this age are misbehaving in the herd, must have to be given some of the right manners in order to handle others, family members in a group. So a group of elephants is called a herd, is also called a parade of elephants. So the elephants do sleep. Sometimes you'll see them sleeping under trees when it's too hot. But now I can see they're all very relaxed. Big ones are not even eating anymore. They are just standing under trees now. So the sun is very hot today. It's about approximately 34 degrees. That is too much hot. So they are all pushing now each other against one of the trees there. Looks like it's the guari bush. So the guari bush is just a victim of the circumstance now. I'm sure the guari bush didn't do anything. So in South Africa, some of the areas do have the tuskless elephants. Like when you go to the Addo Elephant National Park, one of the parks under South African national parks, there are some of the tuskless elephants, and they are surviving. It's just that when there is a kind of bush like this with big trees, I'm sure they can battle a lot, because here they need the tusk in order to open the bark for foraging purposes. Look at that. And see, they're chasing each other. Nikita, the baby elephants, they have got to learn how to use their trunk. You must check after birth, they are going to have the trunk, but every time they will just be playing with it, not even knowing what to do with it. But as they're growing, when they're becoming 8 months to 1 year, is when they get taught how to use the trunk. Look at that. This is becoming serious now. So, you know, some of these elephants, the youngsters, when they see this, look, the youngsters as well, they are starting their own fight. Youngsters, when they see the big ones fighting like this or playing, they also do that. And that is how they learn how to use their tusks, and it's how they learn how to fight. So play is one of the very much important tool in order to get the youngsters to learn how to adapt when it comes to these kind of fighting activities. You can see that it's still on, they're still pushing. The other one behind the guari bush is pushing very hard. Tom, that is true. This is a showdown, and some of these animals, they get serious injuries from these tusks. So the tusks, some of them are very much sharp, and some, they even break some of their tusks because they lock and break when they're pushing. So that's why you will find some of the elephant only with one tusk, but still very young. Look at that one now trying to step on that. See, the elephants, when they bark, yes, they fight when it's serious. Not all the time the matriarch got to intervene. If there is an oldest male in a group, is the one who must have to come and give them instructions. He will then come and give them orders. If he's not there, the matriarch will radio him. He will see, the matriarch will do something like... When the matriarch is doing that, you must know that she's trying to communicate with the head, or else she's giving a message to the male in order to come and give the manners. So that kind of sound can travel long distances. The matriarch, unfortunately, this side where I am, I cannot see because I'm only left with few. It seems like the rest of the head is already towards the eastern side. And remember, matriarch is the one responsible for decision making. The orientation and navigation, it is her responsibility. So it means the matriarch must be now much more in front, leading the head. These other ones are just now left behind. Look at that. You can see that they're just breaking these things. They're not eating, they're just fighting. Let's see what's going on. Look at that one now trying to push from the back. Look, you see that the tusk can be very much dangerous to the body. Francis, the eyes are very much far. If you can check these tusks, they aim each other. They don't mostly aim high. And the other one also aim at the tusks. It's very much rare to find the elephants injured from this kind of activities. Did you hear that? They're all communicating now, make use of the infrasound. So it seems like this is a big head, because the first one I picked up, it was very far away from here where I am, but I hear them replying to each other. So let's see what is the message all about. If they all come together now, it means the message is about let's come together and decide where we're going. I can see the big ones are starting to come out from the bushes. You can see right there now. But when in the elephants can hear very well from the feet. When something is vibrating like what we heard just now, that vibration they're using, it also travels on the ground. They don't only hear it. And on the ground, it can travel at a distance of about 10 kilometers and more. These elephants can pick up vibration easily on the ground. Can hear now after that kind of a sound, they are all very much relaxed. Only few of them are eating, some are just standing. Let me just pull forward a little bit so that I can show you one of the little ones is drinking now. It seems like the little one is getting now thirsty, and it's happening here. Look, those ones are still chasing each other. Look, the little one is also coming, following as well. This is lovely. The interaction between these different ages of elephants is lovely. It's very much interesting to see that the big elephants are not even protective when having the little ones of this age. Because mostly when the little ones are too small like these, elephants can be very much protective. So these two are still on, they're still pushing each other. The testosterone on these ones must be very high now. So that's why they've got all this energy of pushing each other when it's hot like this. Let's see what's going to happen. You can see now the big one, I think, is trying to give them some orders there. The little one is coming. Maybe the little one is going to deliver the message to those two who are fighting. Look at the little one now trying to use the trunk. He doesn't even know how to use the trunk. I can see there. So the little one wants to play. Unfortunately, the play is for the big ones. So if the little ones want to play, they're more than welcome to play, but they must consider the age. You can see that little one is trying by all means to pull things and to push. Look at that. The little one is also given orders. Let's go. You can see now the little one is in between those two who are playing. Maybe now that the little one is there, those two are not going to misbehave anymore. So these elephants can weigh we can definitely feel and hear the kind of sound produced by this elephant from the mouth and stomach grumbling. We can hear it as it's happening here. You can hear like a cell phone vibration, but very loud. Look at that. This is a peaceful elephant herd. So when having the little ones of this age, sometimes the activities of the elephants get very much limited because they can't travel long distances considering the little ones. So that's why, if you can check these days, the elephants are feeding not very far away from the water hole so that they don't punish the little ones from a long distance. So now let's go back to the Masai Mara and see if Jamie has got something interesting already this afternoon. I will be here with the elephants and see what's going to happen. Maybe they will push out one of the cats.
That's something that I'm really looking forward to upon my return to Djuma, is those really special elephant sightings. It's not that we don't have them here at all. Obviously there's lots of elephants around and about, but somehow I think with the type of environment that we're dealing with, it's never quite, or not often, as intimate as it is on Djuma. So it's something that I'm really, really looking forward to. Obviously going to miss watching the remainder of the migration play out, as these guys slowly shuffle. The zebra have actually come quite close. They're now about, what would I call that, 100 meters or so? 100 yards, give or take a little bit, from the lions. Yeah, it looks about that distance. I don't think that they're unaware that there are lions here. It's not as though the lions have gone out of their way to hide. They are basically lying flat out in the open. But I think the closest are those two zebra over there. I assume they know that they're here. It's one of those things that you often find with people who come and visit a reserve or go on safari for the first time, and they see herbivores and they immediately assume that there are no predators anywhere nearby. I've often heard that spoken in Kruger when we've gone around in one of South Africa's the biggest national park. You drive around and you see people and they say, I've heard a few times they dismiss an area because they see some impala or something and go, oh, you know, there's no predators here. First of all, impala are lovely to look at. But secondly, if they see that the lions are lying down, because they read body language just in the same way that we as humans speak to each other, so they know that these lions are relaxed, they're sleeping. As it gets dark, or if it starts to rain, then that will be an entirely different story. However, we've seen some very odd things happen during this migration, so there's still a distinct possibility that one of these animals could be a little bit slower on the uptake than the others and come walking straight into the lions. Well, since our lions are fast asleep, let's go back to Sydney because he's enjoying a wonderful moment with those elephants.
All the elephants are heading towards the Gwari bushes, where is the only place which is having the green leaves. Look, the Gwari bushes are part of the evergreen plants. If you come here during the summer, they are going to be green. The whole winter season is green again. So all these elephants, they are now going down the dry riverbeds. So what I'm going to do now for a better sighting, I will try and drive forward and see if we can see these elephants nicely from a different angle, because I can see that they're all excited about the greener pasture. They are excited about these Gwari bushes there. James, the elephants, they eat all day long. So this body is very much big. So these animals must have to feed all day long in order to have all the energy in order to push this big body size. You can see now we've got one of the males is trying to now sniff the droppings from the female, which is left right now on the ground. One of the females just deposited. Look there. You can see that he's trying to sniff those droppings. This is how the animals manage to detect the ostrus status. If one of the females is on heat, here is where the male is going to find out. You can see now he's going down following them. So now let's go back to Jenny. Jenny has got some of the birds. Not too sure what bird Jenny has got. I will be looking for another spot.
Well, we do have a bird, but we got completely distracted. I apologize. We were talking about the lion snoring, so we got distracted there. We do indeed have a bird. We have a hooded vulture, and you can tell quite easily, even at this distance, that tiny bill. And you can see it's a vulture, but a very, very small beak. I would just like to, while I have this opportunity, draw your attention to the road that runs up the escarpment behind the vulture, because it is phenomenally steep. It is an interesting road to drive up and to drive down, I have to tell you. That is where our radio repeater and signal repeater sit, right up at the top there at Mara Sun and Mara Ngai. But the drive up there is interesting, let's put it that way, especially when our cars sometimes like to pop themselves out of low range and plunge you into neutral. Oh, we're looking at the hooded vultures. They, of course, will be very happy with life. I suspect that the sausage tree pride have been on a killing spree last night. I shouldn't really call it a killing spree, but I don't know how else to describe it, because essentially they will. They'll catch and kill as many wildebeest as they can. They have an absolute... I think they enjoy it. Oh, and there's a starling as well. I think that they enjoy the migration. They're cats. Cats like to hunt. It's just one of those things. But we'll never know. I mean, we can't exactly transport ourselves into their minds. But over there is what the vultures are waiting for. Here comes the zebra. There's also a wildebeest getting quite close. Hello. Yes, you must surely see the lions. They are not being subtle. I mean, yes, those things, those big tawny things over there. Yes. Yes, lying out in the open. That is a lion. See how its nostrils are flaring? At this point, trying to get the most out of its sense of smell. Now, the eyesight of a zebra is very much geared towards movement. Oh, shame, she looks quite pregnant to me. So the lions aren't moving, and it might just be that she's not 100% sure that there are lions there. So her nostrils flaring, it's her trying to sniff, to smell, and see whether or not she's correct. See, now she's going to move around a little bit, possibly just a bit downwind. There you go. Yep, that's a lion. Immediately all the heads of the animals around her go up, and they start to look. They're responding, even though they're not the same species as she is. They know what a zebra alarm call is. It's not a full-out alarm call, because she doesn't feel imminently threatened, but she's snorting to let them know. Now the other zebras have come, they're looking. This is all part of the way these animals are communicating with each other. Look at that one's ear. Huh. What happened to your ear? That's ridiculous. Poofy poof, you want to know if the grazing or browsing animals eat greater masses of food? Not necessarily. There's generally a little bit more nutrition in certain types of leaves, but then it depends on the species of grass that you're comparing it to. So a better way to think of it is to look at the difference between a zebra and a wildebeest, which are relatively similar sized animals, but a zebra on average will eat twice the amount that a wildebeest will, and that's because of their digestive system. So it's difficult to call a pregnant zebra because zebra are gassy animals. Their digestive process, they're not ruminants, so they produce vast amounts of gas because they are hindgut fermenters. What that means And there's advantages to both systems. It's basically they consume double the amount of a wildebeest and they defecate out a vast amount of that. Whereas the ruminant system basically takes the food, grinds it up, then the ruminant chews it again, then swallows it again. So it's a very long digestive process that gets the most out of what they're eating. So a zebra can eat a lot of not so good quality food, and it just consumes as much as possible to get the nutrients out of it, whereas a ruminant prefers slightly better quality, hence why the wildebeest focus on shorter, greener grass, or the shoots at least of the grass, and they digest it properly and they get the most out of it that they can. I bet you, because that's a male zebra that has that tatty ear, I bet you that was from another zebra. Such a cool ear bite. Obviously it wasn't cool for him at the time, but it's long since healed, giving him a very distinctive look. Now as the stallion, he's going to walk behind. As the zebra watch the lions, he will constantly be watching them as well. Yes, girl, you are right. It is a lion. You are correct. Yes, it is a lion. There's actually 3. The problem is being a herbivore like this is suddenly, imagine you're a zebra wandering through and you look up and you see 3 lions, but you've got absolutely no idea just how many lions there are. Is there one behind you? Is there one in front of you? Quite a terrifying thought. Oh, you'll see that she's walking closer to the lions, and they're both sort of getting courage from each other. Now, the reason that she's doing that is not because she has a death wish, but because she wants to just make certain. And it's better to watch. It's not the lion that you see that gets you. So for a zebra, they know that they can outrun them, even at this late stage of pregnancy that she's at, because she is quite bulgy. She knows she can outrun them. So she just wants to know exactly where every lion is to make sure that she can keep track of them. I have absolutely no idea what that question was. I know it was something about zoo zebras have something all year round, but I really honestly could not hear who it was from or what exactly the essence of the question was. I'm missing a vital word there. Ah, I got it. Crafty, I think you're either a crafty stash or crafty stash. I've got one of 2. But you want to know if zebras have their foals all year round. Yes, but with a distinct peak in breeding season around the 2 wet seasons of the Masai Mara, or this area, not the Masai Mara. So you'll find that there will be a peak around about now because the short rains are coming around about October, November. And then you'll find another peak around about February, March, as the area enters into the long rains. So yes, they do have them all year round, but with a peak breeding season. I wanted to see if the lions were still snoring, but I don't think that they are. I can't hear them anymore. Been asked before if lions snore. They do. Oh, they do. But it looks like they've rolled over, so I don't think they're snoring anymore. My money was on Kinky Tail, to be honest. Nope. Linda Gale, the lions are not too full to hunt now. Look at these zebra, sorry. I know I'm jumping from topic to topic, but look at the zebra. So, usually, a lion that is full is not going to go to any real effort when it comes to hunting. But no matter how fat a lion is, no matter how full of meat it is, if there is an easy hunting opportunity, it will take it. Even in the sands, if it's sitting on a buffalo meal, if an antelope walks straight through into them, they will hunt it. They will catch it. They cannot help themselves. That is an ingrained instinct. During the migration in particular, they become very accustomed to being quite full, but hunting anyway, because they can, and they might as well take full advantage of it. Sometimes they don't even eat what they kill. It's just one of those realities of the migration. Oh, shame. Now, girl, if I were you, I would just go stand behind the other wildebeest. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. sort of. There is a sort of a leader or a matriarch. So a zebra herd consists, it can be several different things, but usually the sort of standard unit of a zebra herd is a stallion and a collection of mares. Now those mares are unrelated to each other, and usually the mare that he collected first, in other words that he fought for and that he won from another stallion, most likely, unless he happened to get lucky and stumble upon a mare wandering around on her own without a herd, but mostly he has to fight. And when he beats a stallion, then he will either get that stallion's lowest ranked mare or a filly, a foal, a daughter of the stallion. So he takes her in and she becomes the most dominant of the zebra mares, and then he will go on collecting and fighting for other females, and they will be added to his harem, and they will always be slightly less favored than his very first female. This is obviously a generalization. Obviously it doesn't always work exactly like this, but she will usually be the dominant one. She will walk in front, she will lead the herd wherever they go, and then he walks behind. And the mares have a very strict order that they follow as they walk along behind the lead female. And if they, woe betide them if they break rank, because they will get kicked and bitten and all sorts of things. Females are quite determined. Look how protectively he's standing between the lions and his females. Oh no, that's not him, sorry. I'm talking nonsense. I was responding with a very human interpretation there, but it's not. It's the two females who are watching them closely. So in a way you could say that there is a matriarch. It's difficult to, I wouldn't really call it that. And what's interesting is that when a zebra male, when the zebra actually collects the next female, the other females of the herd treat her really, really nastily for the first few days and the first few weeks, and she can't get away because the male keeps herding her back towards the rest of his herd, but she gets quite bullied, and she isn't really happy for those first few weeks of life. And zebras can be really nasty to each other. Well, again, not always the case. Now the stallion, I'm pretty certain it's a stallion off on the left with the tatty ear. Linda Gale, you want to know if that could have been caused by a zebra bite, and the answer to that is yes. I suspect it was caused by a zebra bite. It could, however, have been a close escape from a predator. Oh, shame. She's so anxious. So anxious. She's obviously really uncomfortable because she's so heavily pregnant that she can't actually rely upon her full reflexes and speed. I wouldn't worry, girl. The lions are not coming for you now. But the sun is going down, and they will be. I would put some distance if I were you. Now, as our lions doze completely disinterested in the zebra, despite the consternation that they have caused, Poofy Poof, how much weight can zebras' legs carry? It's not their legs, it's their backs. Though there have been attempts in the past to domesticate zebra, and in certain situations it worked, but not very well, usually only by interbreeding them with donkeys, to try and get them to become more stable as a species. You cannot ride a zebra. You will absolutely destroy its back. That, of course, is dependent upon whether or not you could even get on it in the first place. So they're not load-bearing animals. They're not designed as load-bearing animals. I mean, the zebra themselves are probably close on 400 kilograms, 800 or so odd pounds. They're big animals, so that's how much weight their legs are supporting. But at the same time, you can't ride them or put any weight on them. That is partly because their backs are not built for that sort of thing, but also because they're angry animals. They do not domesticate easily. Obviously, this is now, in hindsight, in a time when it is not right to domesticate animals. Not that it ever was, but we know better. The great zebra debate apparently is happening. So apparently if I remember correctly, it is in fact one instance where the More American, generally speaking, the more American pronunciation is the correct one. Phonetically, if you go back to the origin of the word, zebra is in fact the correct pronunciation. I can't remember exactly where the word originated from. It'll come to me. If you give me a few seconds, I'll remember. We, as South Africans, would say zebra. And generally speaking, English, as in English, will pronounce it zebra. How would you say it, Archie? Zebra. Yeah, Archie agrees. I say zebra. Technically correct is zebra, but it's zebra though. Okay, let's go across it to Sydney and find out how he might say the word zebra.
I am so very lucky this afternoon. Again, I managed to get hold of one of the oldest leopards in Djuma. Look, he's trying to pick up something from the air. Maybe he's going to lead us to Tandi and Kalamba, or maybe somewhere if there is some food available that we cannot see where we have been. But you can see that this cat is on a mission. Yes, he's not hunting. Very rare for a cat to do some walking activities when it's hot like this during the day. Look at that. You can see that he's looking at something, trying to check also high up here on top of the trees nearby. But looking at the stomach, I can see that Tingana is not looking very full. I think he's hungry a little bit. Look at that. He's trying to listen and sniff, and we didn't even pass animals when we were coming up here. Or maybe he's seeing something. So I'm going to follow him and see if we can have a better sighting, because I can see that he is slowly now moving towards the thick bushes. This is a fantastic sighting. This is very, very interesting. Let me now reverse and see if we can see him nicely. So I wish Tingana can soar. I always enjoy Tingana, the Duke of Djuma. You can see that the Duke is investigating something, and the wind is coming from that side. You can see that the wind is on his favor. He's following the wind. I can see that because he's now sniffing and moving towards that direction, which is now towards the eastern side of the game reserve. So I'm not going to stop here. I will keep following. I want to see where he's going to lead us to. Probably Tingana is one of the old males in the game reserve. So as these animals are getting old, you'll see the teeth as well is going to be changing colors all the time. So this is telling you that this animal is getting old. And some of them, they even break some of the canines. You can see that he is listening to something. So I am going to check. I want to see what Tingana is going to show me. I always rely on him. I know he's going to show me something. If not a prey, it will be another leopard. Safari Sali. Indeed, Tingana is my favorite leopard here in Djuma. I love this leopard. He's so cute. So I can see that now he's disappearing, and I don't want to lose him. I'm going to follow him now. He's going down towards that side. Maybe he's going to go to the dam for drinking. If not, he might be heading towards that side. Can you see him from there, Dave? So now he's going down that. Let me just go very quickly and see so that we don't lose him when he gets to the road. I didn't copy that question very well. If you can repeat for me, final control. That is very true. Tingana is now surviving on stolen kill. He has been stealing too much from Hosana, and he also has been taking some of the food from Tandi as well. So he just got disappeared somewhere here, but I'm gonna meet him again. I'm gonna meet him again somewhere here. So he doesn't want to hunt anymore. The chances of Tingana to take down something, they are very, very much high. He might be looking for something here because he's very much opportunistic, and whatever comes forward, he's going to take it. Even if it's the size of a scrub hair, he will take it. Even if it's a bird, he will take it. So now let's go to James, who is by the nest camp, and hear what's happening by the Vuyotela pan.
Well, I'm not quite by the nest cam. I'm in the tent watching the nest cam, and there is a herd of impalas coming down to have a drink as the sun begins its inexorable march towards the western horizon. There's a little terrapin in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. So we are watching from the nest cam. It's a completely uninvasive way of observing nature. It really gets us some lovely angles. Oh dear, I see there's a small blue wheel of death, but that seems to have gone away, which is wonderful. And there's a lovely herd of impala having a drink on the end of what is a pretty hot and windy day. Now let's just have a quick look around the rest of the pan and see if there's anything else around. Ooh, there we can see the rest of the herd coming down. They're all still nervous, of course, because, well, waterholes are the favourite sort of stalking points of predators, Horsana the male leopard being the main culprit of that at this particular waterhole. This is the Juma pan. Let's have another look there. That's very clear, but for the terrapin, lonely fellow, bottom centre. Oh dear, sorry, that's my fault. I made a mistake, clicked on the wrong button there. Let's go across to the main herd coming down to drink. And it is a very peaceful thing to sit next to water, as many of you have noticed. Very peaceful to sit next to water and watch animals drink. There's something about it that we all find comforting as human beings, and I think it's because, well, we're a water-dependent species ourselves. And to be around water means that we don't have to worry about getting that one hugely important chemical into our bodies. Of course, you can go days without food, but you can't go more than 48 hours or so without water before you'd drop dead. And so I think it's something about that that makes water very peaceful and enjoyable for us to be around. The reason this picture is slightly darker than the other one is simply because the sun is shining straight into the camera, so it's quite difficult for it to cope. So let's go back to the other one and see. Oh, no, they just don't like to be drinking in this particular area. I'm not really sure why. Sartaj, unlikely we'd find crocodiles in this particular waterhole. This particular waterhole is only about 35 meters long by about 20 meters, well, 15 meters wide, and so it's not very large. We do pump water into it, and so there's a constant supply of fresh, clean water in a very small pond during the course of the dry season. And it is getting very dry at the moment, and there's a sort of strong northwest wind blowing at the moment, making everything very dry indeed. To combine that with the heat that we're experiencing also brings with it a certain amount of fire hazard, which we are certainly experiencing at the moment. Thankfully we haven't had any fires. We're just checking around to see other angles. I'm sorry about that wheel of death. Hopefully that will go away fairly soon. Sartaj's impalas can probably not go much more than 1 day without water. They are a water-dependent species, and in fact, one of the reasons they survive so well in this particular part of the world is that there is artificial water provision in many, many parts of the Greater Kruger National Park where we are now, and that's why this is the dominant antelope species. There is a beautiful blacksmith lapwing on the left-hand side of your screen. And so you'll find in areas where there is no water, a water-dependent species like the impala will really struggle to survive. Now I believe that Jamie Patterson in the Masai Mara has got some kind of celebratory bird I think she's going to tell us about now.
So while we can argue all we want about whether or not it is zebra or zebra, this is one bird where we keep the pronunciation as accurate as possible. It is, of course, the black-bellied bustard. That's right, bustard. Interesting looking one. I think it's actually a juvenile because it hasn't got the full black all the way down from the bottom of the chin down to the chest. Don't think it's a female. I don't think a female have that black strip all the way up to the top. Now I'm feeling a bit rusty and uncertain, but I don't think they do. Very pretty birds with, of course, a very, excuse me, distinctive call. A whistle and then a pop, which is very, very difficult to imitate. Personally, I'm completely useless at it. I cannot do it at all. Some people can, some people can't. I'm completely hopeless. But since this is so close to us, such a relaxed black-bellied bustard, it gives us a really lovely opportunity to look at the beauty of what could otherwise be dismissed as a brown bird, because it's not. I mean, look at the beauty of those feathers, the patterns of it. Well, no, you have to stay still for us to look at your beauty. Stop. Also, okay, well, since it's not staying still, you can look at the way that it walks. It looks as though it is pulling itself along by its head. Okay, as our black-bellied bustard stalked off, it seems like a Tingana is doing something similar.
I can see now that Tingana is right here. He's heading behind my vehicle. He's now heading towards the boundary. Look at him, very nice and close. This is beautiful. He looks very tired now. You can see that Tingana is not having anything in the bellies. He must look for something to eat. Let me just pull forward and see if we can have a lovely sighting from the corner, the right corner, that side, because I can see that he's very close to the border. I don't want to lose him. I still want to enjoy this sighting before he trespasses to the private properties. So you can see now we've got a good visual from here. We can see him nicely now. You can see that he's matching the grasses there. Sartaj, the leopards, it's very much rare to see them as a leap. A leap is a group of leopards together. They don't hunt same as the lions. Leopards are solitary, meaning that they've got to hunt by themselves. So they don't have to ask for any help from any other leopards, unless it's a mother and a baby, like what we have always seen happening between Thandi and Kalamba. You can see now that Tingana is coming back towards this side, and maybe he's not, let's hope he's not going to cross. Look at this reflection of the sun on Tingana. This is lovely. So now let's go back to the Masai Mara and see what's happening at the moment. I will be here going after Tingana, but I can see it's very close to the border now.
That's good news. I'm glad the Duke of Doom is being accommodating. So is this black-bellied bustard. Now that is a proper, fully mature male black-bellied bustard. So a different one to the one that we were looking at earlier. You can see how rich and deep that black is, and goes all the way up underneath its chin, complete with a stripe from the back of the eye. But it really does, they're beautiful birds, they are. And it's nice to sit and watch them as they go about their daily business, since the lions haven't started their daily business yet. And you can see how they turn their eyes and their heads sideways to check whether or not there's any insects or anything like that moving around that they can then zone in on. So there we go, got something. Isn't it hilarious? There's something... Their heads, they're like puppets. Their heads seem almost independent from their bodies. Sometimes they walk and they leave their heads behind. Sometimes their head goes ahead. It's hilarious. Joy, in terms of whether or not it is a southern black bustard, I'm pretty sure that it is a southern black bustard. I think the divide happens a little bit further to the north of us, but yes, it is as far as I'm aware, it's a southern black bustard. I could be mistaken on that, but I'm pretty certain. Oh, is he going to pop? Come on. I mean, not pop like as in the Shrek birds. I mean, do his call. Or has he just realised there's lions there? You can see the wind is starting to pick up, ruffling his feathers, quite literally. Come on, boy. For us? Actually, I haven't heard them calling recently. I've spent a lot of time out here. Poofy poof, yes. Black-bellied bustards are able to fly, as are all members of the Korhan and bustard family. But interesting that you should ask that, because they are, of course, related to the heaviest flying bird, which is the Kori bustard, which we do occasionally see out here. Absolutely massive bird. If I were to stand next to one, and I'm about 5'7", to give you a rough idea of how you put that into scale, its head comes up to around about my hip bone. So they're big birds. They're really, really big birds. Whereas this black-bellied bustard is about knee height. But yes, they can absolutely fly. The only non-flying bird that we get out here is the ostrich. Or one really confused penguin. I've never seen a penguin in the Masai Mara, just to clarify. That would be largely impossible. Next to impossible. So as our black spotted bird wanders off, let's go across to our black rosetted Tingana.
Well, look at that now. I have Tingana just about to cross the border. You can see that Tingana is traveling while looking around. I'm not too sure if he's guided by any kind of sense about what's happening here, or maybe other leopards are in the area.
Well, good afternoon everybody. Sorry I'm a little bit tardy this afternoon. Unfortunately, Wendy decided that it was not going to work this afternoon at all, and so we've been sitting trying to fix it for the last few hours, and we finally got it right thanks to the genius that is Opa, and so hopefully we're going to have a good afternoon. Now, as no one would have mentioned because I wasn't out, my name's Tristan on camera, I've got Senzo, and it is a fine afternoon and it's good to be out. I was hoping that I'd be able to get out today, just given that it is my last afternoon before going on leave and I'm not driving in the morning. So I'm glad that I'm able to have a bit of a drive. Now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to find Hosanna, and I tell you why. While we were trying to fix the car, we had squirrels and francolins going absolutely crazy all around the camp. And so I'm trying to just see if he's walking along the fence line. He was doing it this morning. He walked along the fence line this morning, went past FC, went past a couple of the new rooms. You can hear the squirrels are still going here. So I wonder if he's wandered here. I just want to quickly check. We're at the entrance to Vuatela camp. That's where we are at the moment. So I just want to check the pathway that runs along the fence. There's a Nyala, so he's not there. Not there that I can see. So I don't know. He might just be lying somewhere in these little thickets at the moment. It's a fairly warm afternoon, and so I would have thought that he would have been sleeping, and maybe he is. Maybe he's just found himself a little shady spot that he's just sitting at the moment. But no tracks that I can see crossing that little pathway, which is what I was hoping for. I was hoping there'd be tracks there, and then I could kind of track him down towards the dam. But lots of little alarm calls all over the place. I can still hear them alarming here, so I just want to turn off quickly. You can hear they're really going crazy here, so he's somewhere here, I'm sure of it. If it's not him, then there must be an owl somewhere here that's causing havoc, but he's somewhere in this general vicinity, I think. He's kind of lurking around. I can hear go-away birds calling, squirrels going crazy. I wonder where he is at the moment. I'm going to try and turn around and just head down towards the staff village area. So we just got Michelle, the camp manager that's behind us at the moment, who's just going to go through. So we'll just let him pass before we go anywhere. There's a dwarf mongoose as well that's in that area. So I think he's somewhere in this general vicinity. I can hear everything's going crazy. So I would imagine that he's walking around in this general area. He might have gone in towards the camp and gone in towards where the lodge is itself. But I don't know. I don't see him anywhere in this area at the moment. So it's quite difficult to think that he might be here now. Yes, Michelle, how are you doing? Yes, we are. No. Yes, well, Mrs. Zera, he might have kept himself in our luggage and packed up and decided he's going to come with me. I think he would quite like the rainforest up there, although I don't know how I would get him through customs. It would be quite difficult to get a live leopard through customs, but I'm just listening. The birds are still going alarming quite a bit. The thing is there's a Nyala just ahead here, and the Nyala is very relaxed. It's not doing anything, and so if he is moving here, he's still in amongst these thickets at the moment and hasn't quite reached where that Nyala was. And so I think that he must be somewhere kind of around here, unless, like I say, it's an owl that's causing this issue and is making all of the birds go crazy as well as the squirrels. But generally squirrels don't shout like they were shouting for an owl. Generally you find squirrels will be a lot more kind of quiet. For owls it's the go-away birds and the birds that alarm call for that, but the squirrels themselves will end up just kind of sitting and listening. Now you can see there's another vehicle here that's just trying to kind of listen out as well, but I don't hear anything. Could very well be that he's got ducked down into the lodge itself. I can still hear squirrels that side. He also could obviously be on the Gallego side of things. So we'll try and just kind of see where we can go. We're going to try and reverse back and just have a little look around and see what there is. But there's definitely a lot of alarm calls that were here at the moment. And so I'll just try and kind of figure it out. So we'll try and see what's going on. Sorry, I'm just trying to talk to Michelle quickly, just to, because he was asking me if I had seen where that leopard went, in case it's gone into the lodge. Right, now while I try to figure out what's going on, let's send you back across to Miss Patterson, who's in the Mara at the moment, and I'm not sure what she's been up to this afternoon. I haven't really been paying much attention to the drive, but I'm sure it'll be entertaining nonetheless.
Fortunately, we're not struggling to figure out what's going on here. It's pretty simple for us. The wildebeest and the zebra are starting to essentially compact into one large herd, and the reason that they do that is it's now starting to get dark, and it's also starting to look as though it's going to rain, which means it's becoming more and more dangerous for them. So during the day, a big herd like this, and there's probably about 50-odd thousand or so from sort of between where I am all the way across to the opposite ridge. I would guess at about 50,000. I might be overestimating. I can't see over the one side into the valley, but I'm guessing around there. And what will happen is during the day they will spread out quite far from each other, probably in a space of around about 10 or so hectares, no, even more, 100 or so hectares. Then it'll get dark and they'll start to come together in a sort of unspoken coordination as a way of basically safety in numbers. So they form these massive herds and they hang out in them, and they'll spend the rest of the evening like that. So during the migration, during the day, you'll see an entire hillside coated or dotted with wildebeest, and then as you drive around at night, you'll see them clustered together in groups. Now, for the lions and the hyenas, in a way this almost works to their advantage, because they're not trying to sneak up on one individual. They just have to go running into the middle of one of these big herds, and chances are they're going to catch something. So it almost makes the lives of the predators easier, but at the same time, the individual wildebeest or zebra is more likely to survive because it's more likely to be someone else that's caught. And that, of course, is what the vultures are waiting for. They're going to be going to sleep now and awaiting the rays of the morning sun to warm them up. Rob, zebra can live up to 20 years, possibly even longer than that in the wild. I don't know exactly what the average is here. It differs from place to place. But they're quite long-lived animals, in the same sort of age as, or life expectancy as a giraffe, or something like that, unless, or greater than the life expectancy of a wildebeest. Wildebeest doesn't live quite as long. So a zebra is quite a long-lived animal, which makes sense. I mean, those of you with horses will know that they live for quite a long time, or provided they don't get kicked, injured. Now's the time for scuffling for young males. Now, in captivity, you'll probably find that zebra will live even longer. I suspect, though, they could probably live over 30, possibly even up to 40 years old. So they do live a long time, but in the wild it's probably about 20 years. Ouch! They're horrible to each other. This is probably a group of young males. Oh, that's so cool. Probably a group of young males not actually injuring each other, but sparring. Oh, that's so cool. Fit, young and strong. Nikita, no. Zebras will not. They're pulling their punches, though. This is not a serious zebra fight. Zebra will not adopt a foal if they've lost their own. They are actually surprisingly aggressive with foals that are not their own, and they sometimes kick or bite them if the foal makes a mistake and approaches the wrong female. But young groups of stallions can be even more dangerous to foals. We had an incident 3 years ago or so now, where a foal on Juma had a broken leg, and the males, or a group of young males, ultimately ended up killing it. They started to beat it and kick it and bite it because it's making a noise. It was making a noise and therefore being a potential threat, I think, would probably be the most likely explanation. But it was one of the most brutal and upsetting and fretful, I think is where I was going with that, sightings that we've had live, because it is very counterintuitive to manage or to imagine a zebra stallion killing a foal. It just seems so cruel, I guess. But no, zebras won't adopt foals. I think if you were in an artificial zoo situation, you can get all sorts of animals to adopt babies that aren't there. I mean, you hear of kittens suckling serval cubs and dogs suckling tiger cubs and all sorts of things that will instantly go viral all over social media without vast amounts of thought into what they're actually achieving. So I think in an artificial scenario, yes, perhaps. Yes, Barb, you pretty much hit the nail on the head with that. Yes, when a zebra comes of age, a zebra stallion, when he has reached the point of sexual maturity, he will come into conflict more and more frequently with his father. He'll instinctively start to show interest in the other mares as they come into estrus. That, of course, is something that the stallion will not accept, and yes, he will be essentially banished. I think it's a combination of things, though. I don't think it's necessarily just the aggression of the stallion, just in the same way that I don't necessarily think that young male lions disperse because the older males make them. I do think that there is an instinctive part of them that knows somehow that this is time for them to move on, time for them to go and search for other opportunities. It's just my personal feeling. By the way, in case you're wondering, the lions are still fast asleep. But the wildebeest are wandering back slowly in this direction. It's weird. When you sit with lions like this and you're close to a wildebeest herd, they seem to get closer without ever walking at you. They somehow, sideways, they get closer and closer. I don't know why that is. You never have a wildebeest walk directly into your lion sighting. They kind of meander. There you go. There's our lions. Sleepy. Recovering energy. They were probably very busy last night. Oh, big stretch, kinky tail. Can't even see your kinky tail to prove it's you. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much. If you could just stand up now so that we could get your injury, or keep an eye on your injury. Yes, no? It's too much to ask. Safari Heart, welcome to our live safaris. We want to know what the numbers are of the animals that migrate here. Different research sources suggest different numbers, but you're looking at around about 1.5 million wildebeest, about 3... Oh, are we going to get up? There's a good girl. See? Ask a question and she might just oblige you. Around 300 to 400,000 zebra, probably about 100,000 Thompson's gazelles, and the odd topi and eland thrown into the mix. So she's going to give her wound a clean. It's probably uncomfortable, but I think that lions have a very high pain tolerance. When you look at the injuries they walk around with without limping or showing any concern, it's always a good sign when lions start to get up and start to groom. A little bit of stiffness there as she lifted her leg up behind her head, but she has been lying still for a while, so that was to be expected. Are you gonna get up, girl? It's gonna start raining soon. Oh, Jessica, we have absolutely no idea how her tail got that way. It's probably a really old injury. Oh, we've got someone else up as well. It's probably a very old injury, most likely when she was quite young, possibly even a cub. I suspect that a buffalo stood on it and broke it, but that's not necessarily the case. That would be my guess, though. It could have been broken in a buffalo hunt, could have been broken in an antelope hunt, but something broke it. Oh, just getting more comfortable. Getting getting sort of into a, I wouldn't call it a crouch or a stalk position, but she's alert now, and she's just got herself into a position where she can rest and be ready at the same time, because these wildebeest are coming slowly this way. Other members of the pride, less enthused by the idea of a late evening hunt. There's always one. There's one in every family. Kinky tail embarrassed. So for our newer viewers, generally speaking, when a lion starts to groom its paw, or when it starts to lick and yawn, there's a chance that it's going to get up. So if we have a look at those wildebeest over there, while I ask Emma to repeat Barb's question, because I only got the first or the second half of it, you can see they're getting a little bit closer. Lions just want to be ready. Bob wants to know, how do white lions fare in a pride or a coalition with regards to mating? Oh, there's no discrimination from the other members of the pride. There's no, as far as research has shown, in natural environments, which is difficult to find with white lions. Leucistic lions, and because they are leucistic, they're not albino lions. Leucistic lions are rare in the wild. They have been very much bred in rescue centres or in captive situations and very much inbred, unfortunately, because that gene is so rare. But in wild scenarios, there's no discrimination shown from the other members of the pride, because remember, they're not really scent-based animals. They're not really sight-based animals, they're scent-based animals. They look at each other and they see each other's smell as far more important than anything else. It's starting to drizzle a little bit. I'm so happy. This is very exciting news. While we wait for our lions to decide if they want dinner or not, Tristan has found one of the first signs of spring.
Indeed, a sign of spring, a active tree agama that is also bringing a dash of colour to our drab wintry landscape at the moment. These guys are really, really cool. It's out obviously sunbathing this afternoon, sitting on the western side of the tree as the late afternoon sun beams across the sort of quarantine area, and it's just taking it very, very easy. And you can see it actually does camouflage quite well, even though it's got that blue head. When they run along the branches, it's almost impossible to see them. So luckily it's sat for long enough that we actually got a view of it. Very, very cool to see. You don't see them all that often, and like I say, it's because they camouflage so well. Now it's the male that's got that bright blue head like that when he's coming into a breeding display, and so let's see if we can find him again one more time. No, I think he's gone into the hole, maybe. Nope. So no more sign of him anyway, but that was nice to see these guys out and about, and so it was a nice little surprise. Now, no sign of Hosana yet. He's right in amongst the lodge there, and there's just too many kind of cars in and out and people moving around at the moment, so I'm going to head back there just now. I just want it to all kind of settle. The squirrel stopped alarm calling, so I have a funny feeling he maybe moved or lay down somewhere and is just waiting for it to die down before he starts to walk again. But before we get back towards him, I spotted from quite a way away a giraffe that I wanted to come and find again, and so it should be up there. There it is there. So it should have been up ahead of us, and it is up ahead of us. It's just up on our left hand side, and so it's a beautiful afternoon to look at a giraffe in this late afternoon light. So we'll just try and catch up with him fairly shortly. It'll be really nice to see Hosana this afternoon, actually. I think of all the leopards, to finish off this cycle would be really nice to have a little sighting of the young chief. So I'm hoping he comes out and plays, because he's been giving us the runaround a bit over the course of the last few days. Now, as you can see, it's a beautiful male giraffe. He's the same male that's been hanging around Galago Pan area. We've been seeing him quite regularly in this particular section, and he's very relaxed. He does not move too much away from the cars. Sometimes giraffe can be a little on the shy side, and they'll kind of just move away a little bit, but he is very, very chilled, and he is a beautiful specimen of a giraffe. Really is in prime condition. A youngish male, so I would say he's probably in his his formative adult years. He's not quite reached an old male yet. The calcification of his skull is not huge just yet, and even the balding of his on the top there is not massive. It'll still get worse than that, and those will thicken up a little bit more. So still got a way to go. He does have a couple cuts and scrapes and scars on him already, but that's fairly typical for bull giraffe. They do often fight with one another, and obviously will move through quite thorny areas, as well as they get quite a few different skin viruses, these guys. So they often show signs of mange or filaria. Is quite common, and on this one's neck, just as it joins the kind of main part of the body, you'll see a little bare patch of skin. That is probably a sign of filaria fly. So it's the fly lays its larvae in there, and they itch and they scratch it, and then they scratch all the fur off, and they get these little sores that develop. It's very similar on a black rhino. You see it quite often on black rhinos. They get these bad wounds, and often people think a rhino's been shot when they see these wounds, but it's actually just a parasite. Funny enough, it doesn't affect the white rhinos, just the black rhinos, which is quite interesting. But isn't that light magnificent on their coat? I think it's when you see a giraffe in this kind of golden late afternoon light, it's one of the best times to see them because of that kind of orangish tone that they've got themselves. They really do get very, very pretty colors. Right, now I believe James is in the nest cam, so there's something drinking. Let's send you there quickly.
Yes, there is a Nyala drinking here at the nest cam. You can see it there, drinking, really. Sun almost set. Nyala coming down to drink. It's a perfect time to come and drink. It's a perfect time for me to have my tea, I suppose, and I suppose the Nyala feels exactly the same way. Why he should be so alone is probably his own fault. He is, of course, a male. The males of most mammals, generally fairly nasty, and so they tend to spend a lot of time alone or in the company of just one or two others. Let's see if there are any others around. And not on that side. He has been forsaken to the south. He has been forsaken to the north. And so we'll look back at him. You see, he doesn't feel very happy about being forsaken, does he? No, well, you should be nicer to people and other Nyalas. He's having a hugely long drink. Now, Nyala, in theory, is water dependent, but it does get a lot of moisture from its green vegetation. That is, of course, what they eat. Lots of green leaves and vegetation, and so you'd kind of expect that he wouldn't have to drink that much, but they probably do come down if water is available every single day. He's now staring wistfully at the sunset, thinking of better days. Janica, I have seen one sable Ajuma, and I didn't even see it, I'm afraid. The sable was on the dam cam. It walked across the dam wall one evening and was never actually seen after that. So there was one visitation a long time ago. Must have been about probably almost 3 years ago, I would say. It was not long after I started here. There goes the Nyala. Let's have another look around, perhaps to the other side. Nothing there. The odd swallow flying about. The odd bee or the other insect. And there to the north, also not much going on. I suspect there will probably be quite a lot of activity at this waterhole as the sun goes down. Like I say, it's a very hot day. I'm going to put it at around about 32 degrees Celsius, which, if I'm not mistaken, is around about 89 degrees Fahrenheit. Very nice. Nothing there. Oh, there's a dove. Hang on. We've got a small, looks like a laughing dove. Does it have a ring around its neck? Can't tell. Well, it's having a good drink, regardless. Very nice. Let us go back to the original view where there is nothing much to see. Good. I think let us go back to the Masai Mara where Jamie Patterson is sitting with the Leoness, those boxy-eared Leonesses of the Masai Mara.
Back to the Mara with Kinky Tail, who is now up and looking. Unfortunately, there's some ominous rumblings of thunder in the distance, which is making me a little bit nervous. Rain we can withstand. Oh, she's also getting into the I'm lying down but I might start stalking position that the other one was showing. There's definitely signs of him looking. Oh, there we go. Nice.
It sounds like gremlins are still raging. I'm not sure where, but somewhere in one of the vehicles, and so hopefully that will get sorted out. But we're still in quarantine. We left our giraffe just to try and kind of check the southern side to make sure that Hosanna didn't somehow sneak across quarantine. Sometimes he likes to walk this way. He comes down towards the Bushbrae site and down towards the southern end and then heads off towards Philemon's Dip. So just having a little look around here just to make sure I don't see any sign of him walking around in this section. Then what I'm going to do from here, I think, is head towards the dam. Now I know there was a Nyala drinking on the nest cam, but I have a sneaky suspicion that he might still be around there. I think he just lay down with all the squirrels alarm calling at him, and he just went flat and went into the grass and just kind of put his head down, and when everything quietens he'll start to get up and move. And I just spoke to one of the staff at Vuetera. They said they actually saw him just before we got going, walking around there, very, very close. So kind of between where we are and where we kind of were at that gate, that's where he was walking around, which is where the squirrels were going absolutely crazy. So I'm hoping that all he did was just lie down and that he actually will start to come out and start to move about, that we can actually see him a little bit. It'd be nice if he goes down to the nest camera. I think James will be quite happy if he did, because that's an area that he sometimes does spend a bit of time, is down at the dam camp. I don't think James has had a leopard yet on nest cam yet. He's done many hours in there, so kind of hoping that he might get lucky and we'll be able to get a nest of Hosanna at some point. It's a beautiful afternoon though. It is really, the weather has been spectacular. It was such a funny start to the day. We had this very red sky this morning. It was an incredible sunrise that we had this morning, and then it kind of just stayed overcast, well not overcast, but almost misty in a way for a very long time. It stayed like that until about 11 o'clock, and then it all lifted and became a kind of, the wind picked up and it became this beautiful day that we started to have. So it was it's very pretty out here. But I think with this warm wind that we've got at the moment, there's a berg wind blowing, and so I'm pretty sure a cold front is going to come in. My brother and my parents are both down on the western side of South Africa, and they were telling me that it's raining and very cold in that area. So I would imagine that that's all coming up this way. This is generally what happens before that arrives, is you get this hot wind that pushes through, and then after the hot wind blows, then you start to get a little bit more of that cold, rainy kind of conditions that come in. So I'm sure that's what's going to come. I wouldn't be surprised tonight the wind shifts and turns and becomes a very cold wind rather than a warm wind like we've got now. It's very similar conditions that we had when Hosanna bumped into the wild dogs here at the Pan the other day. Right, now I'm checking the Pan, I'm checking around this area to see if there's any sign. So far nothing, but it sounds like Sydney is also checking around water points for anything that could be drinking there.
I have just arrived here by the Buffalo's Hook Dam in order to see if there is any of the animals coming to drink. Buffalo's Hook Dam is becoming a central point of attraction here. There's a lot of elephants coming to drink. Sometimes Tingana comes here, Tandy and Kalamba. So now my next animal to look for is Tandy and Kalamba. So here is where I want to begin my trekking. So I can see that a lot of activities has been happening. There's quite a lot of elephant tracks. I heard something now. Did you hear it? See, I just heard something. Maybe that was done by this Egyptian goose here. I just pick up something coughing. So there's also a squirrel giving some of the calls. It's just that the squirrels, I don't trust them too much, because sometimes they give off this kind of calls. I'm trying to hear where that noise is coming from. So the squirrels are one of those animals I don't trust, because sometimes they just call when there is nothing serious happening. So sometimes I find the hippopotamus here. You can see today is amazing seeing that the blacksmith plovers are not even making any noise, not going around, very much relaxed. You can see now that these Egyptian geese are also trying to dry themselves. You can see that the Egyptian goose, they are very close to the blacksmith plovers. Those are not small ducks. Those are different species. So those are some of the noisy birds. So these kind of Egyptian goose are some of the birds which can fly at night. These birds can be able to read the stars. Look at what it's doing. So these birds, right at the back there, underneath the tail, there is a preening gland which stays there. Sometimes you will see them scratching with their beaks there, taking some of the oil and putting it on their feathers. That oil serves as a waterproof. So I'm going to be there are some of the amphibians living here. It's just that some of them are just coming and going. Remember, amphibians are the animals which can live in water and on land. Those animals can come here for about a day or two, carry on and find themselves by the next waterhole just like that. They carry on like that. They are not here permanently. You will find big animals sometimes here. So animals such as frog, we find them. Also fish, you will find them, because here I've also seen a lot of fish eagles hanging around here. So it means there are fish also in this waterhole. So now I am going to see if I can pick up some tracks and see if maybe we can find Thandi and Kalamba. Those are the two cats I am missing the most here in Djuma. I haven't seen them for quite a long time. Maybe I will be able to pick up some tracks here. Very difficult to see the tracks from this angle. I'm just gonna try and check from the other side and see. So now let's go back to Jamie. Jamie has got one of the migratory species, the wildebeest there in Mara. Let's see how the wildebeest are doing during this kind of migration.
The wildies are having the best time in the entire world. Bounce, 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 and fight. No, they are full of energy before it gets dark, and I suppose in a way the fear really begins for them. For now, this is a time to let off some steam, chase each other around, most likely young males, that high bouncing canter, and then trot that they do. The sound effects start properly. There's some youngsters caught up in the games. Round and round and round and round we go. Laurie, you want to know if there's enough grass for the animals year round? Yes, but to a point. No, actually, let me try and rephrase this. That was a really bad way of answering that. Yes, probably for 1 year there would be. For over 1.5 million wildebeest. I think for 1 year they'd be absolutely fine. For the next year and the next year, grass is meant to be grazed. Grass is not meant to be overgrazed. And 1.5 million animals plus all the zebra, you're looking at 2 million animals grazing this ecosystem. That is enormous pressure for it to be under. Hence why the migration happens. Because while, yes, I think that in the Masai Mara ecosystem, the number of animals could stay here for a year, maybe even 2. But after that, you'd start to see really serious damage to an area. And I mean, when we watched the migration, this has been a bit different because the fires burned through this area first. But when we watched the migration last year, the grass went from long to short during the course of the migration. The amount that they eat, the biomass of grass that they consume is absolutely enormous. So the migration is nature's way of making this sustainable. I can't even say sustainable fast. Archie very kindly sent me a whole load of Swahili tongue twisters to keep my brain working. I can't do one of them yet. Kale kakuku kadogo kakaka kakuapi kaka. You're laughing at me. Where are your chickens, brother? Kale kakuku kadogo kakaka kakuapi kaka. I can only do it once though. I can only do it when I read it. Wait, Kale. I'm saying that right. Kale. Kale kakuku kadogo kakaka kakuapi kaka. Where are your chickens, brother? Perfect, says Archie. I can only do it once, though. There's another one. Katibu kata wakata yam kata amekata kata kata kukata minti katika kata yam kata. Kata kata. Wale watu wali wali wala wala wala. I'll do that one. Wale watu wali wali wala wali wali wali. There's a lot of wali wali in there that I can't make into words. I'm gonna do the chicken one. Kale kakuku kadogo kakaka kaka wapi kaka. That one I'm gonna get. It's the easy one. The lions are just looking at me as if I'm completely nuts. So if I can't even stay sustainable, you know. Henk, I don't know about the lions, but does the GNU drive me crazy sometimes? No, I actually find it quite a peaceful sound, to be honest. Yes, in a way, when you're out, which we haven't done as much this year. We have stayed out all night, but usually not in the migratory herds, or the big herds. The goes on all night, but I can't say it's an offensive sound, to be honest. Sometimes when you just wish you were asleep, perhaps, but I think that's more the association with the level of discomfort. Are you growling at me? No. Snoring again. I was about to say, surely not. It's the lioness in the middle that's snoring. I thought Kinky Tail was growling at me for a second. Yeah. There's one that is thoroughly disinterested in the whole wildebeest thing. I think I was talking about Kinky Tail's wound, actually, before I disappeared off your screens. I think it's looking better. Richard, I know. The lions don't seem very impressed with my tongue twisters at all. I think it's therapeutic for Kinky Tail to hear Swahili tongue twisters. I'm sure that's what she's been waiting for all day, to keep her entertained. No, they are completely disinterested in my tongue twisters, unfortunately. Especially the one in the middle, whoever she is. I can't really see who she is, because she has never given me a good view of her. Proud cat mama, the lions will have the strongest bite force out of the big cats here in Africa. I think that you'll probably find that the tigers will have a stronger bite force and that jaguars will have a stronger bite force, or than leopards at least, just due to their size and their stockiness. Pound for pound becomes an interesting thing. If you were to try and to take into account the size of the animal, by far the weakest of the big cats would be the cheetah, in terms of bite force. But pound for pound, I wonder, lions are so much heavier than leopards, and leopards are so phenomenally strong for their size. I wonder, if leopards wouldn't have a stronger bite force if you compare it sort of proportionately to their size. Either way, nothing compared, not nothing, but not quite as powerful as the bite of a hyena. And the wildebeest have started moving away again. She's a pretty cat, kinky tail, very big ears. Kermie, you want to know if that is a bone sticking out of Kinky's tail? It is actually. I mean, it's a long-heeled break, but yes, hence her name, Kinky Tail. That is an old broken bone. Remember that the tail of a big yawn. The tail of a big cat, just like any tail of any animal, actually, is made up of little vertebra, all the way almost to the tip. Now, in that case, the vertebra would have been broken and have healed completely at right angles to each other, resulting in an almost 90-degree kink in her tail, hence the name Kinky Tail. Very, very easily identifiable lioness. You can't really get Kinky Tail wrong. A female that if you go back and you look through our footage from last year, you'll find her popping up in all sorts of places. No, just getting comfortable again. That's what Nikki did this year with the Sausage Tree Pride. She went through all of our unknown footage where we just had labelled lions as unknown and worked really hard at putting them together into different prides. We didn't succeed with all of them, but for the animals that we see in certain parts of the triangle, we've got a relatively good grasp of who is who. Of course, they then threw us into complete turmoil by moving territories totally out of their normal place, or what we would have thought of as normal. Do you think lions' dreams change during the migration? Do you think they start to dream about wildebeest in the same way our dreams change during TV series, and all we dream about is what we need to do for the TV shows? Do you think they're just full of wildebeest? Or do you think they dream of having a meal only to themselves without having to share with the rest of the pride? I don't know. All we know is that for the younger members of the Sausage Tree Pride, the arrival of the migration is a great time for them to practice their hunting skills. I don't think these lions are going anywhere until it gets dark, and I have a tendency to avoid big herds of wildebeest when it's dark, although they seem to be gathering quite far away from here. I've also got a sneaky suspicion I've parked on a pile of lion scat. It's decidedly smelly here. Oh, surely I would have noticed that before. There the wildebeest gathering off to the west. I wonder where we'll wake up to find them. We've been lucky with the big cats so far. Let's go and find out how Sydney's search is treating him.
A look at the beautiful sunset. A reflection of the sun up by the sky is phenomenal. Look at that. You can see that it's divided into 3 different layers. You can see the outer layer, the inner layer. So here where I am now, I've just managed to pick up some of the interesting tracks. I picked up a track for one of the Avoca lion males. So I saw that the tracks are going down this road. I just want to try and investigate and see if maybe we can be lucky here and see one of them. The track is not looking very old. Track I saw was looking very much fresh. You know, in the bush, you just have to expect unexpected. Yes, I'm looking for Tandy and Kalama, but now my interest is diverted into the avoca males. So let's carry on and see if we can be lucky. Lisa, that is true indeed. The sun in Africa is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. Beautiful. This is very, very beautiful. So I'm just going to go now and see if maybe before the sunset, if I can try to investigate this one of the avoca males who seems to be in this area now. So now Tristan is lucky with the little sheep. Let's go to Hosanna.
We are very lucky. We've managed to find Hosanna. Well, as much as I can tell you that we would be in the wild, he's literally, I would say, 2 meters from the DRC gate is where he is at the moment. He's busy trying. He's almost just killed a baby bushbuck. He was chasing a little baby bushbuck, and then he almost got it. It was very, very, very close. So now he's just looking where the bushbuck ran. So the bushbuck ran right across behind our kind of staff rooms, and he's just watching in that direction. So he's right in amongst the staff village at the moment, and it is very difficult to get anywhere near him. So this is our only real opportunity that we'll get to see him. If he moves from here, it's going to be a bit difficult to follow him in any direction whatsoever. I'm pretty sure that at the moment he's just working out which way he wants to go, but he was very, very close. That bushbuck did not even see him until it was about a meter from him, and luckily, well, the little bushbuck managed to get away, and it wasn't Gorgos. So for those of you that were worried, it wasn't the old bushbuck, it was a little baby one that was by itself for some reason, which is quite strange. It might have been Tiny Tot Jerry. It was a smallish little bushbuck that, like I say, it was about 1 step from meeting its demise. Hosanna was maybe about, as we came around the corner, probably half a meter from it, and he burst out, and the little bushbuck just managed to get away from him. But now he's looking around very alert, and the reason why he's so alert is obviously because he's right up against camp, so there are people that are talking nearby, and so he'll just be listening to those as well and looking around trying to see what's happening. But he's making himself quite at home in amongst the thickets of camp. He's decided that this is where he's going to be for the afternoon. I suppose there's decent hunting around this area. There's lots of bushbuck, and there's going to be one that's unfortunately going to get caught at some point in the next few weeks, I would imagine. Which way are you going to go, Hosanna? Well, yes, Mrs. Lapwing, he will bring the snacks if you bring the apple juice, because he literally is right in the camp. It's quite actually incredible how close he really is. He's kind of moving around very, very close to camp, and you know, I'm not surprised. It's an area where there's a lot of prey species for him, so a lot of nyalo and bushbuck that hang around the camps because there's plants that they can feed off. There's also generally a lot more people that are around, and that makes it very, very easy for a number of animals to, well, a predator like this to hunt. And it's also because it's very close to water, and so that's why you'll find that he kind of hangs around in this area. But there we go, he's just going to slink off now. Hosanna cat, what are you doing here? This is not a good spot for you, boy. You're too close to camp here. It's interesting though, as long as he doesn't get spotted by somebody, he's fairly kind of happy to walk right past where people are and doesn't seem too concerned with what's going on. Now it looks like he might slink off. I'm hoping he's going to go back towards Galago Pan, because that's where he's kind of heading, unless he's still hunting this bushbuck. Looks like he might be. The way he's walking could potentially look like he's still chasing the bushbuck. The bushbuck's actually right on my right-hand side at the moment, so it's just between, well, we're between him and the bushbuck at the moment, so we'll see. Maybe he'll settle down and then wait for the bushbuck to move towards him again, and we'll just kind of see whether or not he's going to actually try and hunt it. I don't think so, though. I think this bushbuck is too wise to what's going on right now. It knows that there is a leopard in camp and a leopard around, and it's going to kind of try its very best to hide away. Now, I know the view is not very spectacular at the moment, and that's just because there's no way we can get anywhere else or anywhere near where he is currently. But I don't think he'll be down for very, very long. I think he will get up and move fairly shortly. So we'll just be patient and wait. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to James and the nest with more insane action that's coming from that area.
Some insane action happening here at the nest cam. You can see that the impala coming down to drink. 2 or 3 of them deciding whether or not to drink. The others getting up, moving around through the back. One of them came past, had a little bit of chase of the other. There's not a huge amount of action going on here, everybody. It's all rather calm, which is quite pleasant. I think that Tristan was probably being a little bit sarcastic. A huge herd of impala coming down for their evening drink. And they don't need to be very skittish while they're drinking, because, of course, there are lots of them around to see if there is anything perhaps stalking them. Hosana cannot be far from here because, of course, we are very near the camp. Oh, I see. I'm just looking at the screen where Tristan is, and I see that he's parked next to the staff village. He's outside of the bathroom, so that's very interesting. Okay, well, that's fascinating. So he is a little bit of a way from these impala. He is... He is satisfactorily separated from them by the entire camp. It is the most gorgeous evening out there, and I say that because the temperature is now dropping. The light has turned gorgeously sort of golden, and the breeze has gone from being like a hairdryer blowing permanently on your face to being a cool spring breeze. There are some more impala now from the other angle. And that's a young male who's got rather crossy-eyed, cockeyed horns there. Bad luck, fellow. I hope you grow out of those. Bo, this will only turn green when we've had at least 30 millimetres of rain or so, and then it would have to be on a sustained basis. So if we had 30 millimetres of rain, which is just over an inch, you'd find that there'd be a green kind of topping to most of the grass. And then if that would disappear quite quickly if these hot conditions persisted, which of course they will because we're going into the summertime. And so, excuse me, you'll find that it will only go permanently green probably somewhere around November. But the transformation never ceases to amaze me, no matter how many years I spend out here. The transformation from this winter landscape to the magnificence, the thousands of green colours that dot this landscape really never ceases to amaze me. That's the northern side of the dam there. We can see, oh, a derv. Very nice. Oops, oh, sorry about that. I keep making a mistake there. Alrighty, these impala look like they're having a good time. I'm sitting outside the tent now, and I'm going to be very interested to see if Hosana and Tristan don't come by shortly.
Well, Hosana is up again, so let's see where he heads from here. He's still moving about, and I think he might go for water at this stage. He might walk along the fence line because he's kind of right where the fence is. So let's see where he goes. I think he's going to head back towards Gallagher Pan. That's why I think so. Let's check. He's just watching. You can actually see the fence in the background there. That's Gallagher's fence. Which is quite interesting. Now, I think what I'm going to do is he's looking interested again. I wonder if he hasn't spotted that bushbuck once more and is going to continue to try and hunt him. The problem is he's going right away to where we park the cars, which is not ideal. So let's see where our boy is going to go. Yep, there he goes. He's still interested in this bushbuck. He's obviously got a hungry tummy, and so he's going to try and hunt inside the camp, which is not ideal at all. at him stalking. Now, he's going to go behind us. And the reason why I don't want to move is because I don't want that bushbuck to look up in this direction. I want Hosanna to be able to stalk as much as he wants to, for the bushbuck to have an equal sort of chance as well. The problem is like I say, he is literally in amongst everything at the moment. So I do apologize if you see a fence or a trailer or something like that, because this is right at the back where we park our cars. He's crossing a little pathway. That's the walkway. Look at that. Look how he's going leopard crawling across the path. Now as he comes out and exposes himself, so this is what he's doing. Look, there he goes. He's just going to go behind us. There's the camp in the background, as you can see. So it's quite ridiculous where he is at the moment. Right, now I'm going to try and just reverse back here, Senzo. You just hold on and just tell me where he is, so that I don't reverse into him. Now, hopefully going to be very, very, very kind of... There we go. There's a few branches that are falling into our nice clean car that we cleaned today. Of course, that's the case. It's always when we have camp cleanup day, which is every Monday, and we clean. You can see just how close he is. Is he sitting down, Sens? Can you see him? Now, you can see this is the back where we kind of have a bit of a building site at the moment, which I do apologize about. He's right in amongst camp. So I was saying he's in camp. Now, I don't think you thought he was this close to camp. So he's those rooms in the background, where those bricks are, the background rooms, that's where Kirsty and Jerry and Eggsy and Louise stay. So that's one of his favorite little haunts. He likes that area and likes to move around in that section quite a bit. So often see him kind of there. Now he's growling because there's a francolin in front of him that's making a noise, and he's telling the francolin, stop growling, stop making a noise, because I'm trying to stalk you and you're ruining my hunt. Look at his little tail. His tail is an indication that he's getting irritated with the francolin. That's alarm calling at him, and now the francolin has just gone up and started to kind of give him trouble. Ridiculous. Hosanna, you can't come into camp. This is not a place for you. And so of course not going to listen at all, is he? He's going to continue to do whatever he wants at the moment. But it's quite common to see this. There's a lot of the time there's the francolins that are just teasing him, sitting right in front of him, making a little bit of a noise. So unfortunately it really isn't ideal that he is where he is. Now he's just growling a little bit. I'm hoping that he's going to move off towards Gallagher Pan, because it would be nice not to be in amongst the bricks and various other things at the moment. Hosanna cat? Are you making yourself right at home? Seems like it. His hunt has been completely ruined by those francolins. As you can hear, they've made a lot of noise, which the bushbuck is now bolted completely. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hosanna now moves, which will be a good thing. Like I say, it will be better if he gets out of this area. And one from a point of view that we just don't want him around people too much, particularly at this time of the day. It's now starting to get dark, and so we'd rather he kind of moved out. But there we go, he's going to go now. Anyway, we're going to try and follow him. While we do that, let's send you back across to Jamie Patterson, who I think is still with the Sausage Tree Pride, and hopefully they will be up to something just like Hosanna is this afternoon.
Oh, Hosanna, I'm really looking forward to seeing him.
5 seconds later.
We have run away from the bad weather approaching from the west. It looks like we're running into drizzle in the east, which is infinitely preferable to lightning, because it means that we can stay broadcasting. Hello, wildebeest. They've all moved back to the area known as 50 kilometer. Now, 50 kilometer basically is the junction that leads to the Tanzanian border along one of the main roads towards a place called Ngirare. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I think I am. I do my best. And this is where the Ololola Pride have moved to, which was completely unexpected. Hello, wildebeest. They've moved across this area, so that's who I'm looking for now, to see whether or not the call of the wildebeest coming back this way might have brought them back outside of their territory once again. It's odd. It's really odd to see them all the way here. But last year, it was so different because there was no burnt patch, there was no bright green grass. And the migration made it all the way up into the top corner of the Mara Triangle itself. And the Olololos didn't need to go anywhere. Their cubs were also a little bit smaller, so they were not struggling for food as much as they have been now a year later. But these zebras are walking straight towards where they've been hanging out, so we're gonna slowly scan. It's right at that time of day. It's getting dark, obviously, especially with the storm to the west. It means that the sun has disappeared early. But it's right at that stage where the spotlight's more of a hindrance than a help. It just bounces off the grass and you don't see much. And we're going to peer carefully into the gloom. Bob, yes, the animals do indeed migrate back across the river. They don't have a choice. The Mara River basically goes all the way along down to the Serengeti, so they have to cross it. And if they don't cross the Mara River that way, they have to cross the Sand River to the east to get south, if that makes any sense. So there's the Mara goes this way, the Sand River goes this way, and then the Mara sort of bridges up in the middle, so it flows down and then curves across to the west, and the Sand River flows in from the east and into the Mara River. So essentially what that means is that if they want to go south, if you can picture it, they have to cross the river. However, even within the migration, while they're here in this ecosystem, they will cross backwards and forwards over the Mara River repeatedly. I can't say from a human perspective I understand it. Most of them have been in the triangle for a long time now, because there's nice green grass for them to eat. But they cross backwards and forwards, and sometimes you'll see a massive crossing of over 1,000 animals, and 100 will swim back. And I don't quite fully understand their approach or their motivation behind it. I know that they follow the rain. I kind of get that, but it still baffles me. And I found it's made the odd crossing quite sad, because all of these animals plunge through the river in absolute terror, and then in their sheer panic do a circle and go back again, and have to go through that whole process once over. It seems brutally unfair that they have to do that. It's almost at the point where this will become quite useful. Also keep an eye out for the serval that lives around here. Brent even saw a kitten here not so long ago. James, I've been asking myself the same question. James wants to know why we haven't been seeing the flay ink flowers as much in the Mara. And I'm not 100% sure what the answer to that is, except perhaps because the migration is later. They're not shortening the grass, although that doesn't really make sense because the whole area's just been... Look, maybe the burn put back the development of the flowers slightly. And they do seem, in the time that we've seen the flaying flowers grow, they seem to prefer the long grass, sorry, wrong way around. They seem to prefer the short grass rather than the long grass. So maybe because the migration arrived late and it hasn't quite mown down the grass in the way that it did last year is perhaps why we haven't seen them. Or maybe it has something to do with the amount of rain that happened earlier on in the year. Such high levels of rain perhaps set back the development. Seems odd though. That doesn't seem right, does it? Because generally speaking, rain is what prompts the growth of flowers, but it might be slightly different in an ecosystem like this where rain is never in short supply. So I actually don't know. I've been wondering the same thing myself. We will see the flaying flowers come out. They've been colloquially nicknamed as the toilet paper flowers, which is quite sad, I think, that our human mind is so accustomed to litter that is the comparison that we make. But it basically, for those of you that missed some of the Mars footage from last year, the whole place becomes carpeted in these beautiful white flowers. I don't know why they haven't come out yet. I think they're just late, just one of those years. Those are all thoughts that I've been through in my trying to understand where they are. So this area is one massive drainage system coming down from the escarpment. So this river, I don't know if you would call it a river, I would almost call it a creek. This flows all the way into Magoro, which is right across towards the Mara River. Now, this is a drainage system for the escarpment all the way across there, and this is prime North Clan country. They have taken upon excuse me, that took me by surprise. This is their territory. They really have prime territory. We spoke about it yesterday, the fact that it becomes very, very marshy when it rains. And in fact, after the amount of rain that we had yesterday, while we were live, but then after we left as well, we actually cannot get to the den site at the moment. We can, but not without doing an unfair amount of damage to the roads around it. We really will make an absolute mess, which will not be appreciated by drivers coming through a bit later. Oh, excuse me. Come on, Olololos. It occurs to me I must quickly switch radio repeaters. There we go. Now I'll be able to hear your questions clearly. By coming into this area, I wonder about the risk that the Olololos expose their youngsters to in terms of males. I haven't seen many big males in this area though. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out and if perhaps they settle here. Speaking of settling, as the evening draws in around Djuma, the best place to be is around the waterholes.
Look at that. That's a very beautiful female hippo. Why I'm saying it's a female hippopotamus is that the outer layer of the eyes is very pink, whereas the male's outer layers are very much dark. Look at that. Beautiful. So this mouth can open very wide. So these kind of animals now, they are preparing to come out for foraging purposes. They don't feed here in water. They've got to go long distances. Some of them can cover 16 to 30 kilometers according to the availability of food. Look at that. Nice to see the hippopotamus playing around there. They're still very young. So the little ones, when they're born, can weigh up to 80 kilograms. Always very nice to be here at Chitwa Dam. There's quite a lot of activities from various species taking place all the time. So the hippopotamus, they're not good swimmers. They've got to run deep under the ground, underwater. So the hippo's teeth, they are very, very much long. These teeth can go up to 40 centimeters. That is a lot. And some can go up to 50 centimeters. Listen to that. Listen to that. Child of the universe. The female hippos, they do as well get involved in fighting, but they are not territorial. Sometimes they've got to defend their little ones. So that is why if you can check both male and females, they are well equipped with the big teeth. So these animals, they've got to use those teeth in order to protect themselves and to protect their little ones as well. That was a very nice choir from the School of Hippos. Hey, look at that. The big one just opened the mouth now. Maybe he's going to do it again. He opened the mouth very wide open. So the lips can be very long, up to 2 to 4 feet. That's very long. So you can see the eyes are right on top of the head so that when they're deep in there, they can still see. You will see these animals can be able to submerge for about approximately 6 minutes. Maybe they're going to come out for feeding while we're still here. So I'm going to wait and see what is going to happen here. Really, the hippopotamus mating is taking place underwater. Very much interesting to see the hippopotamus mating. I have once seen them, that was many years ago. It was early 2008 I saw them mating. And I have not been lucky again. So these animals are staying here. There's fish, there's crocodiles, but they don't eat them. They are herbivores. So it's one of those animals that feed on vegetation. They mark their territories right here by the banks. They also mark their territory very far away from the water holes. So the males, they do show their level of aggression by opening the mouth, and sometimes you see them chewing the water. That is when they are showing that they can be very dangerous. And the females always got impressed by that kind of activity. You can see they've got quite a lot of scratch marks there. So these animals are lacking sweat glands. That's why they spend much of their time in here. They do secrete kind of a body fluid which helps them to prevent dehydration and sunburn. Sometimes you can find hippopotamus far away from the water holes during the daytime. So now let's go back to Jamie, who's got some elephants at this stage. I will be here by Chitwa, trying to see if there will be any other kind of interesting animal coming to drink. I can see the crocus coming out there.
It seems as though Playful Ellie's is the order of the afternoon. We started that way, and as we draw slowly to the close of our sunset safari, we are enjoying some in the darkness of the Masai Mara. And these two boys have got themselves thoroughly worked up, so much so that the one on the left, pulled an entire bush into the road. Now wants to come and take his frustration out on me. Hello, my boy. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. Yes, you're very scary. Very scary. Off you go. Go play with your bush. Go play with your bush. Stop it. He's a silly boy. Go chase your friend around. Yes, there you go. Chase your friend around. Actually, he really is quite overexcited. He's really worked himself up into such a state. Oh, and now he's even more trouble because he's been pushed around by the other one. Generally speaking, that's when male elephants decide they want to come and show you that they're big and scary because they've been beaten by somebody else. It's a very comparable to certain aspects of our human society. I have to phrase that very carefully. Now we're running around. Oh, there's 3 of them. Got themselves worked up into such a state. Tails stiff, held out at an angle to their bodies. Oh, you are so naughty. You are just provoking everybody. Full of testosterone, teenage boys. Look what you've done now. You've pulled a piece of bush into the road. Why'd you do that? Making a mess. Oh, you're going to come and take it out on me now. Proud cat mama. Elephants, as you will be familiar with us talking you through this, basically, elephants never really have separate teeth. They go through 6 sets of molars, but as the ones get worn down, they sort of move like a conveyor belt through the mouth to the front of the mouth, and then taking your frustration out on the tree now. And then they slowly get to the point where they fall out, but the new set has already come in from the back and is ready to replace it. So at no point does an elephant's molar fall out and sort of land on the ground and they're without the next one grows. So they'll go through 6 sets of 4 molars in their mouths, as well as milk tusks and then their permanent tusks. Now milk tusks you hardly ever see. So, as the battle continues in the middle of the road, blocking my way home, Hosanna has gone all the way and taken our guides to their home, or just outside of it.
Well, he's now out of the lodge and is starting to walk past Gallagher Pan now and heading down towards the drainage line in front of Gallagher. Now, come on, don't tell me my lights are not going to work now. So now I've lost all my lights too, which is quite interesting. So that's fairly not good at all. Oh, there, they've come back on now. Well, it'll be interesting to try and drive without lights, but anyway, should be fine. Yeah, but I know earlier that you all were wondering about a Coke bottle. Don't worry, Heathen Coke bottle is here. I have it. I went and got it once he moved off. It's unfortunately a part of living out here with baboons, for the most part, is that they often do this, is that they will unfortunately go and grab things out of the bin and just scatter things all over the place. So just went and collected it quickly. It's now safely out of the bush, and so no one needs to worry about the Coke bottle that is offending said environment anymore. But it's unfortunately the way things are. Sometimes we find them in the most random places because, like I say, the baboons are a bit hectic out here. They constantly are doing these kind of things where they'll raid bins. Them and the hyenas. The hyenas are also very, very bad at it. Now, I'm not sure why all of a sudden Wendy's lost all her lights. Now, it's going to make, like I say, life very difficult to follow Hosanna through this without lights at all. But I'm hoping he's going to walk towards the pan, then that'll be a lot easier. Because at this rate, if he goes where he wants to normally go, then it's going to be quite difficult. Now, he is just going to kind of go through a fairly open section, so that will be okay. We'll be able to follow him through this little kind of piece, and then should be all right after that. But it's going to be a little bit thick through here. Then once we get down past this tree, then we are okay. So you might see some leaves falling. That's basically the leaves from a tamburti tree that are falling on me, and so once those are kind of dissipated, and well, once we've gotten through there, then we should be fine. Now, it's not too bad from here, so don't worry too much, Emma, about us. We're going to be okay. I just want to get through this little area. And I can't tell you how many times I've driven this section now with Hosanna in this cycle. It has been a constant kind of movement through here, and it's the reason why I know I can get through here is because I've driven it in the dark. I don't know how many times now. It's one thing to do it in daylight. It's another thing altogether to do it in the dark. And so luckily we figured out a path through here with the flare the one night, and we were able to kind of just move through here. And since then, Hosanna walks up and down here all the time. So we kind of worked out a way that we can actually cross through these kind of thickets and make it around and do our thing. Now, where he is at the moment is basically very close to room number 5, which is Vuyatela's room. So he's north of the pan at the moment, straight north of it in the drainage line, and it looks like he might be turning to the north a little bit. I wonder if he's going to go up towards this kind of drainage line that runs north of Gallagher Pan and north of the dam itself, or he might turn south here and head to the pan. I'm hoping he's going to turn south and head to the pan. It'll be nice if he does, but we're going to catch up with him quickly. It's not too bad now. It's fairly open from here, unless he goes north, of course, in which case it's going to be a problem. Right, now I'm going to send you apparently to Sydney with a eagle, which I'm not sure how he's seeing it in this light.
The fish eagle just decided to leave. Now I am again with the beautiful hippopotamus who are now preparing to come out. I don't think they're going to be in here for the next 1 hour. It is the time now for them to leave. Once it gets very dark, they must have to move. Bob, the hippopotamus, they don't have a maximum time to stay out of the water, because during the day they just go in and out just to try and keep the high temperatures low and also to gain more temperature. Why I'm saying this? Because now these hippopotamus are going to be out from, let's say, what is the time now? They are going to come out at, let's say, 6:30, and they must come back tomorrow during the sun, just before the sunrise. So you can see that these hippopotamus can stay for hours and hours outside the dams and very far away from these dams. So they can survive that. And I have seen some of these hippopotamus, as I indicated earlier, when they are going out for grazing, if they are very far away from their territories, they can be able to stay in the thick bushes where there is no water at all, just for a day and carry on again as soon as the temperature cools down in the evening. Look at those ones playing. Tracy, the hippopotamus, I'm not too sure at what age do they start growing their teeth. So, but if you look at those ones playing, you can see that they don't have, the teeth are not yet out. They're just opening and teasing each other from the lips of their mouth. This is a nice play. It's exciting. This is very much interesting because it's not something that we see every day. Hippopotamus during the day, they go out and lie out by the sun, just basking in the sun. But now, before they come out, look at what the little ones are doing. Earlier on, I was very lucky with the elephants doing the same thing, playing. Now, we have got the hippopotamus. So the hippopotamus, the little ones, they are born here in water. You can hear some of these hippopotamus, they are stunning. These calls are very much interesting. You can hear some of them, they sound like subwoofers. They are very much thick voices. And these calls, I can hear them from a very long distance. When they are making these kind of calls, I can hear hippo calls from where we're staying, which is maybe approximately a few kilometers away. Everyone is excited here. You can hear also the birds are calling. Not only the hippopotamus are calling now. Even some of the birds which are active during the day, now they are making some noise. It is indeed a very interesting sound. It's a very funny sound, unbelievable. That sound is coming from this kind of an animal where it's deep in the water. I think the hippopotamus sound is much thicker than a lion roar. So these animals have got a very big body size, but they can run very fast. Hippopotamus, when it's out on land, it can be able to go at a speed of approximately 36 kilometers per hour, and that is very fast. So now, while I'm still here by the Chitwa Dam areas, let's go back to Hosanna and see what Hosanna is doing at the moment.
Well, Hosanna is mobile straight towards the Vuyatele Pan. So those of you that watch the dam cam, he should be coming up fairly soon. He's striding it out now, heading straight in that direction. So we just going alongside him, just following him as he goes. He's on his little pathway that he likes to walk, and you can see he's just kind of moving through the thickets quite quickly. And it's amazing how easily this flare picks him up. It really makes a difference for when you're trying to follow these cats around this area. And actually where we are now is a bit of a difficult one, because during our TV series we weren't allowed to drive here, obviously, because we're right up against the camp, and it means that at 3 o'clock in the morning we're going to wake up a number of people should we drive here. And so we always used to have to play this game with Hosanna, where I used to have to try and do this massive loop around and then wait for him around Gallego Pan, and sometimes it took him ages to get there, particularly if there were a lot of scrub hares around, because then all he would do is end up hunting scrub hares every 2 minutes, and we would have this kind of waiting patience game with our cat. Now he should be popping out somewhere. The path runs pretty much to where we are now, so I can actually see him. He's kind of through the bushes at the back there. Now you'll notice I'm using a spotlight much more than I normally do. Normally I'm not one to use a spotlight very much, but given that I've got no other lights, I unfortunately do need it to see one where he is and one where I'm going. It's not that easy to be able to pick up all the little holes and bumps when you don't really have too many lights to work with. So hopefully he'll kind of keep coming in. Like once he gets close, then it's easy enough to kind of take the spotlight off and then not have to worry too much. Now, what have you seen, Hosanna? You can see how he's just bolted upright all of a sudden. It's probably a scrub hare. That's normally what he tries to go after in this general vicinity, and this kind of area is filled with them. They're all over the place. Nope, he's decided he's going to keep going. Shame, boy. Are you hungry this afternoon? You've chased everything. He was so close earlier to catching that that bushbuck. It would have been difficult though. Had he caught it, it would have been a bit of a pain, because he probably would have either dragged it into the drainage line, which is impenetrable with a vehicle, or he would have potentially put it right there, and it would have been very difficult for staff to move around, and it would have created a bit of a dangerous situation between, you know, staff moving around and obviously him. And it's one thing to walk into a sauna when he's by himself and he's not really doing much, but when a leopard's got a kill, they get a little bit more defensive about what's going on, and you don't really want to pressurize him on his kill where he feels like he's being harassed and chased. And so, you know, you try and kind of give them as much space as you can during those periods. Now, where have you gone, Hosanna? I don't want to cut you off. Oh, there you are. Okay, so he's a little bit further ahead now. We do have light that has just flickered back on. That's amazing. Well done. So Hosanna is developing his swagger, isn't he? He's become very much a swagger cat. He's got this proper stride that he gets when he is walking around this area, and for some reason seems to just think that this is all his now, and I'm not surprised. I mean, he's had multiple sort of encounters with the rest of his family, and everybody's just left him always just to stay here. So for him, he's not too stressed about being in this area, and I suppose I wouldn't be either. I mean, if you've got food and water and everything else, why would you worry too much? But there he comes down the kind of pathway, so just let him kind of get ahead of us again. Now you see he's stalking. That's because there's scrub hairs all over the place. Chances of him actually getting these is pretty slim, but you never know with Hosana. He might get lucky. So what we're going to do is just not move at all. Look at him. How cool is that? What a wonderful way to finish our evening. I think his scrub head just ran off. I can't see a thing, to be honest with you, so I don't know what he's actually stalking at the moment, but the way he just kind of changed his body posture, you can see now he's thinking about, how am I going to get towards the scrub here that I won't be seen? Well, Hosana, it's not going to be that easy, my boy. It's very open here, so it's going to be a difficult evening for him to find a meal in this particular area. You see he's watching and looking, and a scrub hare is also a very fast animal, but he's going to try by the looks of things. No, there he goes. He's running back the way he just came. I think he's trying to work out how he can go and cut this scrub hare off and also not move too much that he gets seen. So he's now squatting and just having a little look around just to make sure. Isn't that pose amazing? That's that typical kind of cat pose, particularly when they're slinking around in the open. It's one of those. Oh, now he's decided, no. Hosana, what are you doing? Yeah, exactly, Emma. He is a clown, this cat, because from stalking to kind of playful roll on his side, just to watching what's going on. So maybe he's decided he thinks this is the best place to stop in order for the scrub hare maybe to come closer to him and to reassess how he's going to go about this business. But he's still fairly twitchy, which means that he can still see something and is probably just trying to work out now where his next move is going to be. The unfortunate part of where he is that it's so open here that he really doesn't have much to be able to get by. And there we go, you see. So he's just waited, I think, for that animal to get into the thicket to be able to then stalk off behind it. Now, it's going to get very, very thick in here again, so we'll try and kind of figure this out, but it seems as though he's going to go back. Now, what I want to try and do is, if he's stalking, I want to try and stay on this side of him, so on this kind of left side of him, but I'm trying to see where I'm going. Now, I don't know where he's gone, to be honest. I've lost him now. He's in front of us. Okay, so we'll try and kind of catch up with him, but in the meantime, let's send you back across to Jamie, who is just going to be bumbling probably towards home, because it's the last sort of segment for the evening, and I'm sure she wants to say goodbye to all of you for the night. No, apparently not. Apparently Jamie, unfortunately, has got some technical gremlins still with her, so you're back with us again. We're still trying to negotiate roughly towards where Hosana ran. Where is he now? There's monkeys alarm calling. It's all happening right now. Not having these lights is a bit of a pain, so we have these lights on the side of the cars, which really help us when you're trying to drive around through thickets like this, because they just illuminate the sort of peripheral areas of where you're trying to go, and without them I feel kind of lost. So there he is, he's right here. Okay, so just coming in front of us. You can hear the monkeys behind us chattering away. Now, I do need to give the others an update, because there's a vehicle that's standing by at the pan, and he's now no longer going in that direction. Yeah, Hosana's now mobile in a southeasterly direction. He's not kind of angling towards the pan anymore. He's busy chasing scrub hares here. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not sure we're going to actually, well, we're definitely not going to be able to get through there. I can promise you that right now. But I can still see his little bum, spotty bum in the bush there. It's just off to our left-hand side. So I think if I get round here, I should actually get a view of him. But it really gets very dense to the left quite quickly. There's a little drainage section here. So let's try and see from here, Sens, if we can spot anything. Up on the ridge there, is there anything there? So that's the last time I saw him, was in that general vicinity. Kind of moving to the right of that ridge, through that gap there. But no, I don't see him. I think he's dropped down into the drainage itself. Let's see, I wonder where can I go to try and see him. Okay, let's just try a little bit further forward quickly. Let's have a look here. Right, now it sounds like potentially Jamie's sorted and her gremlins are gone. Hopefully they are gone. We'll try it once more. And so while we try and figure out where Hosanna's gone and try and find him, let's send you back across to Jamie, who hopefully will be able to speak to you guys.
Let us try that all again, shall we? I can't even remember what I was talking about before I vanished off your screens. We apologize for the gremlins, but I'm back up and running. Oh, I think what I was saying was that it's nice to be able to drive home at night with the covers down, because often we find all sorts of interesting things. We've seen genets in these trees. I'm actually going to slow down a bit more so I can check properly. We've seen genets in these trees. We still haven't managed to show you a Kenyan bush baby yet. There's lots of mongoose around on this road, and jackal, and our camp clan of hyenas that used to, I don't think they
I am now looking for some of the interesting cats here. I am back in the area where I have started. I know this area where we are, it is a favorable area by Thandi and Kalamba. I just want to try and see if maybe I can have some luck and see these two cats that are missing a lot here in Djuma Game Reserve. No reflection of the ice yet, no tracks. Thandi and Kalamba is hiding, maybe deep in the thick bushes. Maybe they've got something. Maybe they're eating something. So now, this is the road where I saw Tingana earlier, and I thought Tingana was following Thandi and Kalamba just before he disappeared to one of the private properties. So that's why I could not manage to follow Tingana and see where he was going. I just saw some eyes there. I just want to be sure if it's not a cat. Saw some eyes here. You know, the animals can be very much shy. Maybe it was an animal, but now it's hiding. I really saw some eyes here. It's in between the thick bushes of the guari bushes. Oh, I saw some eyes. I saw those eyes again. Oh, it's a... So now let's go back to Hosanna and see what Hosanna is now doing with Tristan around Galagopan.
Well, he's not at Galagopan, he's now at Vuyatelapan. That's where he's ended up coming to, and he was about to go towards the pan again, and he's now spotted something that has changed his direction once more. And so you can see on the flare, he's slowly kind of making his way upwards. I can't see what he sees. And even with the flare, we don't see any little hot spots around there that he potentially is hunting, but he's kind of just moving through the thickets. And so I'm pretty sure he's going to spend the entire evening around this pan once again. But we'll just try and go around so that we can catch up with him, because he probably in all likelihood is going to just stalk along this kind of little bank, and I would rather be behind him than in front of him or on the side of him, because that way we're not going to spook anything before he actually gets there. And so, you know, I always at night prefer not to follow cats too much if they're hunting, and so if he really gets quite serious and there's something ahead of him, then we'll stop and turn off and let him kind of do his thing. But let's try and just get around. At least here it's not too thick. The nice thing here is we don't have to drive through too many thickets. We can just go nice and slow in the open, and that means that, you know, we're not really going to be chasing too many things. There he is there. So just trying to work out, what's he chasing now? So he's chasing something again. Karen, yes, well, it's not that the animals are more dangerous at night, it's just that they're more active, a lot of them, around this period, and our ability to see and to hear and to be able to pick them up is far less at this time of the day, and so it becomes more dangerous for us to move about at night with predators like leopard and lion and hyenas around. Now, what have you seen, Hosanna? Are you going to jump? Watch him, watch him. Watch his bum. If it starts to wiggle, then he might just do a little leap into the bush. Oh, he was almost thinking about it. Let's just see now. He's watching something in there. It's always funny when they kind of squat like that and you just see their bum wiggle before they jump. So I wonder if he might just do it. Let's have a little look now. What have you seen, Hosanna? So he's gone after something. I don't know what he's chasing, but I think it must be scrub hares. It's the only thing I can think of that he could be potentially going after. There he is. He's coming out here. So he's just on my right hand side. So there he is. And he's still watching. I didn't see anything burst out of these bushes, but he's obviously spotting something. What it is, I would guess scrub hares is the way that he's hunting is a typical kind of scrub hare hunt. It's not something like a duiker or a steenbok, because we would have picked that up on the flare, but it looks like he's hunting scrub hares, and probably will continue to hunt scrub hares all around this particular area until such time as there's none to chase, and then you might go lie at the pan and wait for a duiker or an impala to come down for a little drink. Hosanna cat, you're a busy boy this afternoon. It's a shame. I think he's hungry this afternoon, because he's the most active I've seen him in terms of hunting in quite a few days now. So he's really kind of trying everything that he can to pick up some sort of prey item. He's just slinking along through that thicket. Right, let me try and help you there, Senzo. Now, I'm going to just try and head down and along. There is a little kind of pathway here that we can follow. It's fairly sort of open. I just need to be able to see. Now, sorry that... Now, Senzo says he's behind the little thicket, so he should be coming around this way. He often likes to walk from here, and then he comes down towards the pan from there. So, just going to try... There he is. So we'll just turn off here. There we go. He's just behind that vegetation. Amazing how they camouflage with those spots. Absolutely incredible. And he's just probably going to head straight down from there, down into the dam itself, because this is where most of the scrub hares hang out, is in the dam down below here. This is where he can probably get the most opportunities to hunt, but he's using the edges so that he can try and kind of stay away from the open spaces, that in case there's something like a duiker or an impala that might spook, he can at least use these thickets to move around while he's trying to stalk and figure out which animal he's actually going to target and go after. Well, you know what they say about practice. It definitely is going to get better as time goes. The more he practices like this, hopefully the better he'll get. Now, Kaj, will he get better? I mean, sorry, can the prey animals smell him? Yes, so if the wind is blowing in the right direction, they will still be able to smell him. It doesn't change day or night. As long as there's a breeze, they can pick up the scent of these predators. And so you'll find that he'll try and kind of figure it out and try and kind of work out which way to go. But, you know, blustery, windy conditions in a straight wind is often not great for a predator, because they do get picked up. When it swirls around, that works quite well for them, because it just confuses antelope. They don't know which way that animal is coming from, and they get quite panicky. So very windy, swirly winds are good, but a sort of breeze is never the best thing. But tonight is absolutely still. It is really, really no wind whatsoever, and so it's going to be, you know, good night for him to actually go about hunting. So we'll see. I mean, you guys have the luxury of being able to watch him from the dam cam this evening to see if he does get successful if he stays in this area and doesn't decide to kind of move away over the dam wall, which is where he's kind of heading at the moment. Now, I believe you're all wishing me a good leave. Thank you very much. That's very, very kind of you. Hopefully we'll have... It'll be nice if we do. So, there we go. As Fasana slinks off, it is that time for us to say goodbye, and we're going to be heading off home. And so I hope that you all have a wonderful evening or day, wherever you may be, and we'll see you all in a few weeks' time. But for the rest of the team, we'll be back out and about tomorrow morning for the sunrise safari. So we'll see you all then.